Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And Blue Dragon 5.
and welcome back to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month to month basis. That's right, it's time to crack open our movie
Movie
memoirs.
Memoirs!
All right. So, Dragon, how'd this month treat you?
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
well actually. It was pretty full.
Yeah, I gotta say the same. I think I got a good roster of both the new movies, the TV, catch up. Maybe I'm a little light on in terms of stuff that absolutely wowed me, but I think I've got a good batch all the way around. So so decent sized chunk here. But before we get into the actual movies, Dragon, let's do the news. So what do we got?
Can we go with a little Nickelodeon orange?
Nickelodeon Orange, you got it.
All right. Yes. So the news. Yeah, we got a boatload of news. Of course, we kind of work our way from the bad news to the confirmed official good news. So
That's the plan.
yep. So starting, Una Stubbs passed in August. We're building to the biggie, folks. Don't get in a tissy fit. We're getting there. So Una Stubbs passed. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, Tiki. Are you?
Vaguely, I think.
Yeah. So Una Stubbs, she's known for, I feel, two big things. She's an English actress. Now the two big things she's known for are quite revolutionary. One, she was the original Edith Bunker. So there was, of course, All in the Family, as beloved as it is, it started as a UK sitcom that was then adapted into the US as All in the Family, called Death Till Death Do Us Part. She was the Edith Bunker in that.
Hmm.
The other thing, she was Mrs. Hudson in Sherlock, the BBC show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's really good in that too. I think she's probably the best of all the Mrs. Hudsons if you put all the adaptations together. Honestly, she's really good. So yes, and of course there's the other passing we incurred towards the end of the month. That was rather crestfalling and just terrible. We
Yeah, I
lost.
mean, it came like just days before Doug Days. It was crazy timing.
Yep, the great Ed Asner has left this mortal coil, folks. Sad to say, it was a big blow. And again, you're right, Tiki. Just so close to Doug Days. I mean, it just was the last thing I was considering. Given, well, we're going to see him in a couple days, and then, well,
Right, yeah.
yeah. And again, the man, just a staggering adventure of a career. I mean, at least 13 more movies, and I don't even know what the TV shows are like lined up. He's got like 13 more movies that'll be coming out at least up to 2023, probably more. It's yeah, of course, he was part of the very popular sitcom, with Mary Tyler Moore to Lou Grant. Again, he went from one of the top sitcoms to one of the top dramas at the time. That's unheard of. Like, these are the most Emmy wins. I mean, again, if I read off the man's bona fide, we'd be here all night, but we can't do that. But of course, for you and I, Carl Fredrickson, Cosgrove, those definitely our go-to roles with the man, right?
Oh yeah. All right. So just really quickly, we have Claude, Pink Pearl, and Bedazzled in the comments. Yeah, Claude, I actually just saw today that our I Heart Arlo came out, so I'll have to give it a shot. And Pink Pearl says, I've literally only watched Free Guy. My friend Sean was in it. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to see that one, Pink Pearl, because it was a pretty good time. And also Pink Pearl, of course, I hope everything's, I mean, I'm sure it's not great over there in Louisiana, but my heart is absolutely going out to you every time I see a news report about the hurricanes. I kind of think of you. So, I hope things are going, as well as they can be. All right. Okay, Dragon, I'm sorry. Let's get on with the news. What else we got?
Well, yeah. So I'm serious. One last thing again. The thing to highlight with that as into is just the man, how he reinvented himself with voice work. So in that way, he's going to live on for generations, even beyond kind of the iconic things of the 70s and 80s. He'll
Sure.
live on forever for both the 90s kids and of course the kids of the latter generation with up. So it's kind of wonderful. Never be forgotten in that way. It's really sweet. Okay, so still not great news, but non-lethal news. So
Oh
Frank
boy.
Oz.
Oy. Oy. It's maybe lethal in a Disney branding kind of way.
Yeah, Frank Oz was interviewed recently for something, and yeah, this was always kind of out there, but he just like blatantly confirmed it, and it's kind of really.
Uh-huh.
He said Frank Oz. I'm sure you knew a little bit about this, Tiki, beforehand. Is that
I,
so?
I
Frank.
I know a little bit, but I think you'd probably be the best to explain it, kind of explain the minutia of it.
So essentially,
Because
Frank.
frankly, Dragon, I don't really like drama, and you're the one that wanted to put this on here, so I'm kind of gonna let
Well,
this.
you could have challenged me if you felt it was a bad idea.
Yeah, I know I could have, but you know what? I do think it's a big talking point. I myself am just not that comfortable with it.
Okay, well, simply put, Frank Oz has confirmed that yeah, he would love to come back to the Muppets or even Sesame Street, but mainly Disney. But I think he was mainly targeting Disney, but I think also throwing a little bit of shade at HBO Max. I guess they were basically put him in their place, saying, "Yeah, they don't want me around. They don't want me involved because he's at least he's dissented on the corporate entity before, and he pretty much kind of said that." He does blame the Disney deal for Jim Henson's last days. He's still not thrilled about that.
Uh-huh.
And here's interesting though.
Dazzled
Yeah,
says Disney has a bad reputation right now. Yeah, absolutely right, Bedazzled.
yeah, JPEG not doing great these days.
Yeah.
We'll say that much. Yeah,
Glad to
here's
hear
the
you guys are safe, Pink Pearl. Sorry to hear about your house. I really hope things turn around there.
yeah.
But glad to hear you guys are safe, though.
Yeah, the interesting thing though is that he says that, yet he did come back for Yoda in the Last Jedi.
That's true.
So I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know if that was more
Frank
like
Oz has
kind of
always kind of been like a little bit of a, I don't want to say a drama queen, but like, out of the surviving Muppet cast, I feel like he's been the one to kind of like ruffle the cage more than others.
I think he's got a right to though. He was
Yeah,
there
he
from
does.
the
He does. I'm
ground
not
floor.
saying he doesn't. I'm just saying like with like it's not really surprising to hear this kind of stuff come out from him.
Yeah, and the thing too is like when the Muppets came out, he was not impressed by it, right? The 2011 one.
Yeah, he did not like it at all.
And again, I think honestly that's probably what provoked a lot of this too. Just the fact of what Disney, there's him saying Disney doesn't really know what they're doing with the Muppets, so I don't think I would mesh well creatively with them anyway. So I think it's kind of like he's just been saying. I mean, hopefully the Haunted Mansion thing's going to turn that around, but I won't be too optimistic on that. I think it'll.
I'm getting a little concerned about Muppet Haunted Mansion. At the moment, I'm kind of like in cautiously optimistic mode with it.
I'm optimistic it'll be a good thing, disconnected from everything. I don't expect a major resurgence, unfortunately. I'm keeping it managed. Like I think it's going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be good, at least as like a little Halloween special.
I mean, it can't be much worse than the last Muppet project, right?
Right. Okay.
Just
okay. Okay. So, anyways, on to brighter pastures. So,
yes.
Barry season 3, they've started filming finally.
Yeah, man, it feels like this has been a long time coming. So, don't have much to say except like, yeah, can't wait.
So remember, they have up to 4 seasons. I'm sorry, they have like seasons 3 and 4 written, and they're now filming 3. So I mean, I don't think they've been officially picked up for 4, but they were prepared for 4 too. That's rather exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking ahead during that pandemic. Using the smarts. All right.
Okay. Dragon, can I say one thing that Chapek has done recently, like since I recorded my anti-Chapek podcast?
This is a new Chapek thing?
This is a new Chapek thing. Yes.
Okay, keep it brief, but yes, go on.
Okay, so Disneyland, up until like a couple days ago, has had this summer program for basically like low income families where middle schoolers, I believe, could work a summer, volunteer, and at the end of it, they'd get a free trip to Disneyland out of it. And Dragon Chapek, he's not going to do that anymore.
Yeesh.
Yeah, I'll let that sit with you. I mean, it's It was supposed to be a 10-year contract, and he just decided to pull out at 5. Isn't that great?
It's not great.
Isn't that
And again,
wonderful?
honestly, a lot of these choices by him really seem to be him under this weird delusion that Disney is hemorrhaging money because of the pandemic, which I don't think is the
I mean, for
case.
me, it's almost kind of just like I mean, people, it's like people are associating people like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg with supervillains, which is absolutely valid. But I mean, I think we gotta bring Chapek into the equation as well for this. It's like
Yeah, Chapek's
I
the
think
kingpin.
the thing that blows me away about Chapek is that the things that he's doing are just like out in the open. Like, yeah, I don't care about customers. I care about money. Like he is basically turned into the "we've got to have money" meme, Dragon.
All he needs to do is grow a mustache. Yeah, so yeah, I think again, I think I sum it up best with more like Chapek, more like Cheapek.
Pretty much.
All right. Okay, so that brings us to let's see. Oh yeah, so Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry. I believe they announced this on like the 100th anniversary of his birthday. I
Okay.
think his 100th birthday. I'm not sure if they're that or it's going to be timed to be the 100th birthday. But regardless, Gene Roddenberry is getting a biopic. It's in the works right now.
Yeah, so this is interesting. I know the dude kind of broke some barriers culturally with Star Trek, so I'm kind of intrigued. With any biopic, it kind of depends on the execution and the casting, but I'm definitely into it from
Yeah.
from a ground level.
Yeah, see, I'm a little too far gone for Star Trek in terms of so much of it there, and you
Well,
have to
that's
start
the
at the
thing, though. It's
beginning.
like
But
I feel like if they focus on the cultural side of Star Trek and not Star Trek itself, like if it doesn't have a bunch of Easter eggs and more so just kind of focuses on like the impact that Star Trek had on culture, I think it could be interesting, and I think it could
well,
potentially like be a project that is like, hey, like for people that like you and me that really have no interest in Star Trek at all outside of like a passing like pop culture osmosis familiarity with it. It could potentially like
yeah.
bring us in and be like, oh, so that's what people see in Star Trek.
Well, yeah, Tika. I know what I'm saying is I'm not like in terms of watching the show, and I love like the documentaries and things that's on Star Trek. So
Uh-huh.
it's a rather interesting story, and the behind the scenes is really interesting. And the thing I'm looking forward to with this is them broaching the changeover because Roddenberry was there for the first two shows. He was there for the original series, which only lasted like 3 seasons. I'm sure it's gonna be like the whole like we're canceled. What do you mean we're canceled?
Uh-huh.
To the more interesting Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is Roddenberry on his last legs. And I don't know how much of like then you broach the legacy with whatever comes next, and that's kind of what I think the whole how impacts the culture. But I still that changeover was the really interesting period where the idea he was it was a Roddenberry on his last legs, really really kind of making people say, oh man, Roddenberry's kind of lost it, hasn't he? He's kind of taking the action, the Shatner out of
Yeah,
Star Trek. What
yeah.
are we doing? So that could be really interesting. So that's what I'm definitely sold on this, no question.
All right. Bedazzled 4720 says the Mount Rushmore of Disney villains: Scar, Ursula, Jafar, Chapek. Well, Bedazzled, I feel like Chapek is like easily the most hateable and genuinely evil Disney villain we've gotten in a while. So,
Yeah, I say let's cast Dean Norris as him in a biopic.
oh my god, oh fuck yeah, Dean Norris is Chapek. Oh, done.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's see next. Okay, so this is not 100% official news, but there is evidence. So, Secret Wars, the major Marvel story, the one introduced the black suit for the kids out there for Spider-Man. Secret Wars, the next big, what a lot of people are speculating is what Avengers 5 might be, if not the Secret Invasion thing with the Skrulls that we're going to get as a Disney Plus show. If they are building to the next big Avenger movie, like by Phase 5, it'll probably be Secret Wars. And a lot of people have been speculating if that's the case, and we got a little nugget of evidence suggesting that may absolutely be the case. So here's what we know. So Jim Shooter, the guy who wrote that book, for some reason, we don't know why, but for some reason he was asked by some bigwig for the rights, or like the okay, get the sign off on the story. Like essentially, hey, can we tell this story, or can we, like, I don't know, like, I guess, credit him his name or something along those lines. Which ordinarily they don't have to. Well, they should do, but they don't always do.
Yeah,
sometimes you're lucky if they put your name on the thing. Sometimes, in the case of some of the creators on these puppies, regardless. So they asked him for permission. This got out. A lot of people said, "Oh my God, they're asking the guy who wrote Secret Wars for his permission for Secret Wars." And Kevin Feige, when asked further about this, he very clearly did not deny it. He said, like, why are we focusing on that right now? Okay, we got a lot of story to get to before we're even thinking about that, essentially. So I think it's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds cool.
Okay, let's see. In other related MCU news.
Yeah, so Riri Williams, I think this is an excellent call because she's going to be in Wakanda Forever. Is this confirmed?
Yeah, this is confirmed. I believe there's like an on-set photo or something for her too. Like, yeah, we've seen her on the thing.
So yeah, that's I feel like that's a really good call because it's going to tie her in with other popular African American Marvel characters, or in this case, just African, I guess. But I don't know. It's a good call to kind of get her associated with the MCU because I know that she's not the most popular comic character, right? So it's like I feel like it's kind of like an uphill battle. So to throw her into something like Black Panther, I definitely think that's a smart choice on their part.
Yeah, two things with Riri Williams in Wakanda Forever. So one, I really like that a lot of our our new fill-ins for the icons, like take Sam Wilson, Captain America. He has ties to Wakanda as well. With they made a suit for him.
That's true.
I'm liking that we're hitting that direction. I'm not saying every black character is going to necessarily have that connection. It makes sense though, but I don't, like for example, I don't know if Blade's necessarily going to go to Wakanda, but I won't rule it out. We're in an age of wonders right now. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, if we go that way, it's like I don't necessarily want it to be like how every villain in Spider-Man is associated with.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it's going to be every character, but for these two,
I think Blade would be a stretch. I think Blade, they've got plenty of other creative ways they could go with him.
Exactly, but here's the other thing of it too, which gets me excited. Something you've pitched for a long time. I think we may have found a way of reinventing how we do it. While we never got Tony Stark and Shuri, it would make sense for perhaps a smart, a smart, bright, young African American girl to meet her equal in Shuri, perhaps in a big role.
Yeah,
in Wakanda Forever.
for sure.
That would be kind of your way of passing
the next best thing we're gonna do. God damn it!
I mean,
Dragon, that was
cool.
That was honestly like the crossover that I was most looking forward to going into the Infinity Saga. We just didn't get it.
Yeah, this is kind of a neat way of doing that, though. I mean, it makes sense. So I'm kind of for it, thinking about it. It didn't occur to me till like.
I could see Riri Williams maybe being like a friend of Shuri, like maybe Shuri's like going to on a foreign exchange program for school or something.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
honestly, I'd still absolutely love to see Peter Parker and Shuri get together.
Well, we got to sort through some legal troubles first, but maybe.
As much as I like MJ in those movies, I honestly think him and Shuri would be adorable together.
Can you imagine this? Okay, let me throw this out. This occurred to me. Okay, if we ever do Miles Morales in the MCU, what if he, what if he did that Disneyland day with Shuri?
Oh my God! All right.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like literally, I don't know. I'm just saying, like perhaps again, because there's
always joked about that Disneyland date, but
even so, think about it. Peter Parker has MJ, and a lot of people have been doing their shipping thing. But you know what, Miles Morales, untapped potential.
Sure.
Maybe he goes to Wakanda for the foreign exchange thing, or he's just going to visit, and perhaps they hit it off. I don't know.
All right,
throw it out there.
Okay, trying to ship Shuri.
Okay. Anyway. Okay, so going from the Marvel side of the fence to the DC side of the fence. So they announced
that guy says I still don't forgive Shuri for the "what are those" joke. That guy. The funny thing about that is that Dragon and I both, when we first saw that joke, we had no idea it was a meme. Like the meme just totally went over our head. So we just appreciated the joke for the delivery.
just the delivery and the Back to the Future now. Like, the sneakers are like
place.
And like the idea that I just
love.
So
it's like honestly knowing that it's a meme. Yeah, it kind of dates that joke a little bit, but I still go back to the delivery was funny though.
That, and I love that King T'Chaka loved Back to the Future. I just think that's
Uh-huh,
delightful.
uh-huh.
Anyway, so
And
yes,
I think T'Chaka and or I'm sorry, I think T'Challa and Shuri's like bond was one of my favorite parts of Black Panther. So,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Anyways,
All right, so this month, we talked about a certain Batman
that
movie
guy
that
says, "Lol, you innocent souls."
yeah, yep. All right, so this month, Tiki and I, as we'll get to, we talked about a certain Batman movie that featured Catwoman, and on the other side, the other Catwoman-related news, they are doing one of the DC animated movies, not the continuity line that so far has been very promising. There's like the way they're doing this Injustice movie coming out a couple months from now. They've announced the Catwoman movie for next year. It's an anime Catwoman movie.
An anime Catwoman movie?
Yeah. So here's the deal. Okay, it's called
Huh.
Catwoman
That
Hunted.
sounds like it has some potential.
Okay, you're gonna love this. All right, so it's called Catwoman Hunted. It's announced for
Uh-huh.
2022, and we have cast and characters announced. I won't run you through all of the gambit, but I'll tell you the eye catching ones here. So
Okay.
the plot is Catwoman steals a diamond. Basically, in the crosshairs of the good guys and the bad guys all after her for kind of like Harley Quinn shenanigans from the not the Birds of Prey movie, but like Harley's Holiday, from the animated series.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. So we have Jonathan Banks as the Heavy. He's Black Mask.
Oh man. Oh God. That's perfect.
Yeah, and I think we're
I
doing
mean,
like
that
the old
right
school
there
gangster.
is perfect.
I hope we're doing like an anime version of the old school gangster Black Mask. I think that could be
Uh-huh.
awesome. We have Julia Pennyworth, who was Alfred's daughter, who was she was a recent addition to the comics. Let's say so.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna have her in this. Laura Cohen's playing her from The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice. Not bad.
We
Not
got
bad.
we got Jonathan Frakes, Xanatos himself. Jonathan Frakes and Keith David are in this as Keith David's playing
Ooh.
Tobias Whale. I can't remember who Frakes is playing, but
Dragon, you can
Frakes.
never go wrong with Keith David, man.
I know. And plus, it's a good boss role for him too, like a mono
Mhm.
boss. Also, here's the also if I'm right, I couldn't quite confirm, but I'm pretty sure Stephanie is it Beatrice or Beatrix?
I think it'd be a trees.
Beatrice. So Stephanie Beatrice, who I love from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, every time she pops up anywhere, she is playing Batwoman, which is like the only way that I'm stymied again. Like, oh, Batwoman's in this, but it's Stephanie Beatrice though.
You have had such a long, hard history with that character.
Yeah. I've come around on her as much as I am, but just the moment I do, then they throw the Batwoman show at me, and they throw the replacements, and I hate it. But the point being, though, if anyone's going to sell me on Batwoman, I would probably be her in this movie. It sounds like so.
Sure.
Fingers crossed. And the big eye catching that everyone's really excited about with this is that we have an excellent writer on this. Greg Wiseman, the guy who did Spectacular Spider-Man, Young Justice. This guy's like a Gargoyles, hence the Keith David, top tier writer.
Ooh, yeah, sure.
So this project is getting, and again, the anime thing, which is, they have like one shot of it released, which looks
Dragon,
kind of
I'm
cool.
really excited about that Star Wars anime project that's coming out. I'm really
Visions.
excited about that.
I've still not seen the trailer for that. I keep meaning to get to it.
Oh man, it looks pretty the thing that excites me about it is that like for once it's Star Wars stories that look genuinely like way different than the common like Skywalker saga fare.
Yeah, I wonder if Gendy's going to be able to do one of them, or if it's purely.
That'd be great. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that might be asking. That might be asking for the moon, but I wonder if it's going to be kind of like Batman Gotham Knights, where
I actually don't think. I don't think so though, because the trailer said it was specifically Japanese studios.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if it's going to be like Gotham Knights, where they had like 6 vignettes that were different anime styles and different studios. So maybe that's how they'll do it. Okay, let's see. So moving on from that. Okay, so this is breaking news of late. Manifest.
I saw this today, and I was happy for you.
Something good finally happened with a canceled NBC show. It's going to end up on Netflix for its final season. We're getting sweet closure, Tiki.
Dragon, it's like this and a couple other shows. One that we'll talk about with the TV. It's like I tried to watch the first couple episodes. I don't know, like maybe I'll give it another shot. I just feel like, Dragon, this has like the leftover feeling of being like a post-Lost sci-fi show, and I'm sure it's good. I find it really interesting that you're like so into it when it's like the reason I'm not into it is specifically because of Lost, and you're not into Lost. So I don't know. I think it's funny how that comes around. But
I just think it's amazing how, again, Netflix has been reviving these shows so well with the binging culture that we have now. Again, like look at Lucifer. Lucifer's last season's going to happen next month. It was supposed to end
I've been meaning
really
to get
like
around to Tuca and Birdie as well, but I'm really glad that Adult Swim picked that one up. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I've heard good things about it.
yeah. But seriously, Tiki, Lucifer, one of these days, man.
I know. Lucifer, Dragon, I'm saving Lucifer for like one of those days where I'm just sick in bed and I need a pick me up.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a long one because it's going to be 6 seasons. But
I know.
Right. Well, regardless, the power of binging, folks. My hope is that Good Girls gets this treatment next. Once that has to get that has to be caught up though on Netflix though, because they dragged their feet on that one. So once the most recent season of Good Girls is out, I'm sure people will binge it, and then hopefully maybe good news will strike twice. We'll see. I'm rooting for it. Okay, let's see. So then moving on from there. Okay, here's stuff that is happening. October, Curb Your Enthusiasm, season 11. It's coming
I'm
this
so
October.
excited. Dragon, this is the first time that I get to watch a Curb season live, and I'm fucking stoked, dude.
Yeah, you really should watch season 10 before.
Dragon, I'm like 4 episodes into it. I'm getting through it. I didn't get all the way through it, so I couldn't put it on my list tonight. But I'm gonna, by all means, it'll be on my list for September.
Cool. I'm just saying, season 10 was really fun, and it's just
so far I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, and like you said, the Mocha Joe of it all is great.
So that's the thing. The really cool thing too is these recent Curb seasons have been really reflective of how the world has changed, and factoring that.
Having said that, Dragon, so Larry David just being like this total, just like I mean, his whole thing is that his OCD is just driven up to 11. He's got this whole set of like rules that he wants people to abide by in his own head.
He's basically the more vocal
Larry
version.
David dealing with COVID is going to be the most balls to the walls thing. I can't wait.
I know. It's wonderful. And that's from the sounds of things. Larry David's going to hang it up, or at least Jeff Garlin expects Larry David to hang it up at 12 seasons. So,
by all means, I feel like Larry David, he deserves to retire. He's given us more than enough content at this point, but man, I am so glad that we're getting a poster, like current COVID season of Curb, because I just feel like the comedy of that just, oh my God, it just writes itself. Oh my God.
Yeah. I got to tell you, this is the fastest turnaround I think we've had for a Curb season in a long time, because that's the thing. He works sort of like, he basically does the seasons when he feels like he writes them. He doesn't rush them.
Imagine how much material he has, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure once everything went down last year, he just, I'm sure immediately he was like, oh my God, there is, this whole situation is ripe with potential.
Yeah, there's something really funny that happened to Larry David recently. I'll mention it briefly.
Oh, God.
Okay, so it's like a real life thing, but again, obviously he didn't go full out like Larry David, and basically Larry David the shows he's the vocal version of what Larry David thinks, pretty much. Where Obama had I don't know if it was Obama's birthday or a benefit or something. I think it was his birthday, and he basically Larry David, he got, I think the invitation got rescinded for him or something. He says, good, I didn't want to go. Just saying, yes, I'm very pleased I don't have to go. I was dreading going, and now I have a perfect excuse not to go when asked about it. It was really funny. Okay, let's
Dazzled said, Mocha Joe!
Yes,
Mocha Joe! He said he's probably not wasting any time because of COVID. Life is short. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. God willing, nothing happens to him. But, I just think like I said, I just think the situation that we are all living in, that we have all been living in, is just I feel like it's almost tailor-made for a Curb season. It's in a weird, twisted way, I feel like this might be one of the best things to come out of this fucking pandemic.
I'll be utterly shocked if we don't touch on the pandemic, or at the very least him ranting about coming out of the pandemic. It's going to be brought up one way or another. Okay, whether he's going to be in the thick of it or
Dragon, I'd be shocked if it wasn't a main plot point, honestly.
Yeah, that's exactly. All right. Okay, so that brings us to our last news story, which is we had a trailer and a date for Kid Cosmic Season 2. It's coming September 7th.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, and the trailer, we have new
I
stones at
actually haven't
play.
watched the trailer yet, Dragon, just because it's so close. I kind of feel like I want to just go in as fresh as I can.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we're still in the truck stop in space, which is where we left off.
Uh-huh.
We set up our big bad last season. It's pretty much like a little glimpse at what we set up last season. It's not
Sure.
really uber spoiler. It's like Erroneous the planet. We get to see Erroneous, the planet killer, the planet destroyer. That the base our Galactus parody.
Uh-huh.
And we got to see some of the new stones in action. Here's the really cool thing, though, what it seems to me, and I don't know if they go for. I think they've been approved for up to 3 seasons. I don't know, basically going into season 3. I
3
think.
would be perfect, honestly.
Yeah,
I'd
so
be
I don't
totally
know.
happy with 3.
It seems to me, just glimpsing at the brief trailer that we got, that I think this is going to be Joe's season. Where the first season is really kids' season. I think season 2 is going to be Joe's season. Her
Uh-huh.
thrust in the leadership position that we established in season 1. So that makes me really excited if that's what we're doing. So it's looking really good.
Cool.
Okay, that brings us to let's find the remote because we're talking some TV.
All right. Okay, some big stuff on the horizon with this one. Okay, so let's get to Behind the Attraction Part 2.
Yeah, and I know
Dragon,
it was going to be
happy
this.
to know that I actually found this to be a lot better than the first part.
I thought you would.
And I think the reason for it is because I thought the lineup of attractions that they chose to cover was a lot more interesting. Because honestly, stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean, stuff like Haunted Mansion, even Jungle Cruise to a certain extent, like I know pretty much all there is to know about those rides and the making of, so it's like there really wasn't that much for me to discover about those. I felt like, in contrast, Dragon, stuff like the Disneyland Hotel and the Hall of Presidents, and even the way they did It's a Small World, which was basically like pretty much a World's Fair episode. Dragon, I was delighted. I thought this was like these are absolutely more so the attractions I would love them to hit on. These kind of like, I don't want to say obscure attractions because they're not obscure, but let's say, they're not like the top tier, they're not like the big e-ticket of the e-tickets. You know what I
The
mean?
way I like to look at it is they got creative and they looked at the term attraction outside the conventional ride. That's what I like to look at it as for this half of the season. Even with Small World, it really did focus on the World's Fair, which is a really cool idea. Because we know what happened.
You know me, Dragon. I am a hoe for the World's Fair, so I definitely,
Yep,
I definitely
you're
love
standing
that
on the street
episode.
corner, all right. Yep. Anyway,
we'll podcast for tickets to the World's Fair. All right.
Oh my god.
Oh boy, but no, Dragon. The World's Fair episode was probably my favorite, just because I don't know. I got super into it. It wasn't even that I learned that much, because honestly, it was kind of like one of those situations where it's like, yeah, I pretty much know all I need to know about this, but just seeing it pulled off was great.
I learned gobs of stuff, like the whole different castles design. I love the castles.
The castles was another great one. I really, Dragon, oh my god, I'd love to interview that guy who, the Tangle guy who eventually went on to design the Shanghai Castle.
Yeah.
I don't know. That guy just seems like he's got like the coolest story.
Yeah, he does.
And just the philosophy of designing those castles and what they mean for the parks. That was a great one. Of course, the transportation one, the trains and monorails, that's like kind of like the heartbeat of Disney in a lot of ways. I
love the fact that they tried to make the monorails like an average thing for for transportation, as it didn't catch on. But I love that we almost got it though.
Sure. That guy says Doom Patrol. Was there any news for Doom Patrol?
Well, yeah, there was I believe it starts at the top of this. I don't know if it started yet or it's just going to be this week. But the Doom Patrol Season 3 trailer came out. And basically we're doing the full-on Brotherhood of Evil. That looks really good. And again, T, I think you'd love Doom Patrol, by the way. But I know it's like a laundry list of shows. But it's looking good. I like that we're finally doing the iconic big bad for the Doom Patrol. That's really awesome.
All right. Anyways, so anything else to say about Behind the Attraction? I thought it was honestly, I'd love to see another round where they go even more obscure. Do something like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, or I don't know. I'm trying to think, like Storybook Land or something like that. Like rides that aren't necessarily like obscure, but definitely kind of like more on the B tier side of things. I don't know. I just think those are more interesting than the ones that they've literally made books out of, like Pirates and Mansion.
Yeah, I think maybe next season, which hopefully there will be, there should be like kind of a splicing where you do at least one iconic ride, and then you go the obscure route, and then something that's maybe kind of a little bit of both. Like a little bit, I don't know, something like that in your next like a half lineup than the other half layer. Really weird that we don't get them all at the same time, but that worked in its favor this time, so I won't complain. I will say this though, I learned some other things too. Like for example, I had no idea that there was a statue of Roy Disney with Minnie Mouse. I had no idea. Because we're always glorifying the other ones, with Walt and Mickey, and also I had no idea.
I knew about that one, of course, because I've been to the Magic Kingdom quite a few times at this point. But yeah, it's nice. It's very nice.
Yes, that guy we're talking about, Behind the Attraction, Part 2. It's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney
right now.
Plus, yeah.
Yeah. So also had no idea that the President Lincoln, animatronic. Just love the idea that I just love the fact that it kicked the crap out of its chair every time it malfunctioned.
The Lincoln malfunctions are those are a well-told legend amongst Imagineers for sure.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's see. What does that bring us to? Oh yeah, so I already did a full podcast, spoiler cast with our buddy Jacob Weil and Casey McNicholumis.
Michelanis, I think. I'm sorry, Casey.
Anyway, our buddy Casey. So we talked the Bad Batch. That's what we're gonna move on to now. So Star Wars: The Bad Batch. The Clone Wars spin-off and kind of follow-up. I loved it. I wish it were 12 episodes instead of 16 because I think there's a wee bit of a momentum drop towards that third of the show, but on the whole, it was great. I love the 3-point era of Star Wars. That prequel era is like, that's what I wanted the prequels to be like. Show me Darth Vader onwards, okay? That's what I want to see. Yeah. So it's just very much about family and choice and kind of some mercenary adventures with a very Hondo-esque character with Sid. So yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure. I'd recommend if anyone's like looking for a Mando fix, I think Bad Batch will tide you over quite nicely.
All right, so Dragon, I got kind of into a true crime spree this month. As I do every few months. It tends to happen. And I started with a mockumentary that we will be getting to. But that mockumentary led me to watch, now that I've seen kind of like the mockumentary, let me watch the product that kind of came from it, kind of that was inspired by it, which was Making a Murderer.
Yeah.
And Dragon, I gotta say, it's really solid. It's not my favorite true crime thing I've ever seen, but it's I like it quite a bit. I think it's maybe a little bit like overhyped, maybe. It's definitely got twists and turns. I just, frankly, I don't really. A lot of the characters are just a little over the top for me. I don't know.
Oh, not really characters though, Tiki.
No, I know.
That's the thing.
Dragon, I don't know what to make of this show, honestly, because I feel like my initial reaction to it, I feel like kind of still stands, where it's just kind of like every episode sort of just beats you over the head of how messed up the legal system is, and I don't really know what to take away from that. And to me, it kind of just gets repetitive of like, oh, just look how much they're screwing this family over. Can you believe it? And it's not that it's not like interesting. I just don't find it that compelling, but I know that's unpopular, so.
I'm wondering, the thing that really got me with Making a Murderer was the endings. How the endings always kind of like gave you like a really big, like kind of like a Perry Mason, like a discovery
Dragon, maybe
moment.
it's because like through pop culture osmosis, I kind of have like a general idea of where the story was going, but the endings didn't really get me that much.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: would you be compelled enough to check out season 2, knowing that?
Yeah, I'll definitely watch season 2.
Yeah, there's a huge season 2 feels like a very different show because that's after the first show made all the waves. Yeah. So that's the really interesting thing, though, because anyway. So, all All right, I guess we'll check back in with that.
So, it's like I gave it a shot. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
it's
mean,
not that I didn't like it. I just, it's not my favorite true crime thing in the world.
well, again, the big thing is knowing where you are now with the mockumentaries and everything. It's the rock that the church was built upon. So
Of course.
now you know. So there you go. Okay, let's see. Moving on from Making a Murderer to Superman and Lois season 1. Now you watched about
I watched maybe 2-3 episodes of it, and the Superman and Lois stuff was really good. But what kind of pulled me out of it was the teen drama stuff, where I was like, okay, there's too much teen drama going on. This feels too CW. I think I'm gonna dip just because I feel like it could very easily go into soap opera territory.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how it ended up. So actually, it was I thought it was going to be 10 to 12 episodes. It actually ended up being, I believe, 15. Oddly enough, but here's the thing: I liked it, but it did not stick the landing as I hoped. Let me put it this way: so Stargirl, which I love, which now season 2 is happening, which it's a little iffy, but that's what it is. The point being, Stargirl, the first season that rocked, was a DC Universe production. Now, Superman and Lois, while produced by HBO Max, is based on a CW concept. And CW came up with the idea that's their actors, their Superman, their universe, et cetera, et cetera. It just has a budget and everything behind it. And that's why the structure feels it's a dressed up CW show, and that has the trappings of something greater, but the CW seeds, no pun.
And I could very much sense that CW influence, and like I said, that's why I was kind of what, I don't have the time to devote to this.
And I agree, but again, I think as you saw those 2 episodes, I mean, what works at its core,
the stuff with Superman himself is very earnest for sure.
Yes, and honestly,
it's a great Lois.
Yes, and again, I do like the premise of, okay, so Superman has lost his mother, so he's moving back to Smallville to kind of figure out the next steps and everything. I think that's a really inspired idea. That's good, and again, seeing them as parents is an interesting concept. Unfortunately, outside of we have really cool reveals in the show, and again, the dynamics at play with that that's the cell. The cell works. The problem is the boys, not going with the 10-year-old kid, going with the teenage boys was a mistake.
Mm-hmm,
and it's because they're afraid of the Stranger Things event that we're dealing
Dragon,
with.
like I said, it was just I'd rather have it be a Stranger Things ripoff than a Riverdale ripoff.
I know that's the shame. The shame is the CW keeps hitting you over the head with we need shirtless teens. Now
exactly. And I was just okay, episode 1, there's there's a party with teens and alcohol, and I don't want to be the square in that situation, but there's something about that trope that's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way of every time we have a teen show, it's always just break out the booze. I don't know.
Right. So yeah, honestly, just so you know, full spectrum, it's that, and also we do another problem, or a recurring problem with Superman in live action with the TV shows, where too many Kryptonians. We brought in a bunch of Kryptonian bad guys again. We did on the first the first 2 seasons. Yeah, I guess
it's
the first
kind of
two
the Flash with the too many speedsters.
Yeah. I mean, even Supergirl, her first season. Here's the weird thing:
I watched a video essay on the Flash recently, Dragon, so I'm kind of up to speed, pun intended, on kind of how bad it's gotten.
That's the thing, though. Again, I have a loose recommends for Superman and Lois, because again, it does, if you can fast forward past the scenes with the teens, and that's the weird thing. Okay?
Would you recommend just doing that? Just literally, just every time the kids are on screen, just skip.
I mean, let me put it this way,
because I would be okay with that.
I put it this way, okay? If it's a scene with just them, as in if Superman's in the scene, watch it. If their grandfather, Sam Lane, is in the scene, watch it. But any scene with 2 of them, you don't really need it.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's I think the reason we didn't do the 10-year-old outside of the marketing thing is it's production issues. Where now the cast of Stranger Things,
of course, yeah,
they're growing up like weeds. Tricky. They're terrified of casting young kids. I guess that has to be the logic. Because why not?
Well, I mean, just based on labor laws, it's a very tricky dance to dance. Yeah, and it's honestly, I'm kind of surprised productions like Stranger Things and even the Harry Potter movies got away with it as well as they did.
Again, the thing that keeps you coming back, that there were great reveals, which I won't tell you. There were great reveals, oh my God, that's who that person is, and this is what we're doing, and oh my God, we're name dropping this. That was cool. And there's an all Superman episode where we put him in the original suit, the Flesher Superman outfit. That's really anyway. So Okay. So point being, there are highs and lows.
All right. So Dragon, next up for me, American Vandal season 1.
I've almost gotten into this show. Sell me.
This is a masterpiece.
I mean, a little more than that.
This is probably the best mockumentary I've ever seen. And the reason I say that is because most mockumentaries kind of lean more into the mock side of things, right? They kind of lean more into the parody side of things.
Yeah.
Whereas this is very much kind of just like black social satire, like black comedy, where it's the whole idea is that this student who's basically just like the class clown, kind of like the big troublemaker of the class, he essentially gets blamed for this big prank. This a series of dicks spray painted on the teacher's faculty on the faculty cars in the parking lot.
I'm aware of that much.
And Dragon, the whole thing is kind of about proving his innocence and also like looking at other kids as suspects. Here's how I'm going to sell you on this. It gets super meta. So essentially what they're doing is they first are just doing it as a class project, right?
Yeah.
And as the class project, as there's more interest in the class project, the characters who are actually making the documentary become more and more characters in their own right, and they kind of start to have disagreements on the mystery. And there's one point that I really love where they basically have to research each other to pull together a thesis on why they might have done it, because they're involved in it too, because they're all basically all the suspects are. This is a lot to explain.
You know what it sounds like to me? Tell me if this is an apt. This might be an apt comparison. It sounds like to me it's kind of a more adult or more kind of true crime parodic version of Fillmore. Where we have just like kind of.
It could be, yeah. But Dragon,
thing that happens in
what I love about it is it's got this. It's kind of got this social media vibe to it where you really see the damage that documentaries do to people, that true crime does to people, the damage of like, even if you're not the one being blamed, even if like you're kind of part of the story, like if you're someone who's being used in another person's alibi, well, then you're still part of the story and you're still being put under a microscope, and there's still things about you being revealed that you might not want revealed. And Dragon, this series explores that concept of true crime in a way that I've never seen before, and it's fucking compelling. And by the end of it, I was so wrapped up. I watched this thing and just it's an easy 5-hour sitting, 10.5-hour episodes. By the end of it, Dragon, I think I sent you a message on Skype where I was just like, I can't breathe. I was so invested in it. Man, I mean, it's such a roller coaster. I think it's a project that hits the nail on the head of the cultural zeitgeist in much the same way that The Social Network does. And because of that, I really think it's a masterpiece of TV, just like The Social Network is a masterpiece of filmmaking. I mean, this thing is just, it's so good. It's suspenseful, but it's also funny. And Dragon, I just want to assure you with the dick thing, it's not all about dicks. I mean, there's certainly dick jokes in there for sure. But, I feel like the dick thing is really meant to kind of throw people off and kind of disarm people. Because really, when you get into it, it's more about justice and, and kind of like people's assumptions versus reality and the way that social media twists reality. And there's just so many like juicy little details there. And also we talk about, with movies like, or with shows like, Superman and Lois or Riverdale. Jesus, I'm surprised that there hasn't been like a Tolkien parody of Riverdale called Rivendell.
Oh, God.
Anyways, maybe me and Laura Kanata can make that happen. That'd be funny. Anyways, but Dragon, these kids actually feel like the main two are sophomores in high school, and they feel like sophomores. The main kid who's who's being accused is a senior, and I'll argue that he maybe is he maybe looks like a college kid, but he gives the cadence of of being like just a high school punk, just in his performance. He's really into it with his performance. So these kids really legitimately feel like high schoolers in a very authentic kind of way, like in a way that's sort of like a level beyond the already authentic high schoolers that we see in something like the MCU Spider-Man movies. So yeah, Dragon, I honestly think you'd absolutely get a kick out of this. Season 2, we'll talk about it. Season 2, I don't think is up your alley.
Well, it sounds like
what?
Sounds like season 1 of this again is very much kind of what's making a murder. Season 2 is, where it's about the aftermath and the consequences of the of the true crime series.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like we've got the crime going on. Dragon, basically at the midway point of this is when it really starts to get intriguing, and when the element of like, okay, it's like the aftermath of this being posted to the school, and eventually the school bans them from doing interviews on campus. There's a teacher involved who gets a little too loose-lipped. It's like all kinds of crazy stuff happens. It's great. All right, I'd highly recommend it.
So speaking of school things, I watched The Chair.
Excellent transition. What's this about?
Yes, Tiki, I was really impressed by this. So The Chair is Sandra Oh's show on Netflix. It's a miniseries.
Okay.
I assume it's a miniseries. It seems like pretty clear-cut story. I mean, there's a little wiggle room if they wanted to do a season 2, but there's a good, it doesn't need one. It's 6 episodes, half hour, I believe. I think it's half hour.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Sandra Oh is like a college professor at Pembroke. It's like Pembroke University. It's a made up university. Anyway, so she's a professor who gets promoted to the chair of the college, and she's wonderful. And of course, for the folks out there, Sandra Oh, many things, as well as the Debbie Grayson from Invincible.
Of course,
she's great. So yeah, this is a very solid miniseries. She's basically she is trying to evolve. She's trying to be really good at her job. She's trying to evolve like an old stuffy college. They set in their ways, and like they have teachers who have reached tenure, who are like kind of older than dirt for the most part. And we see they're a colorful kind of cast of characters for the most part. A couple of them you root for. And others are just like, well, yeah, why are they teaching? Why are we just still teaching kind of these stuffy old ways? And we're trying to transcend, trying to kind of transition things into like the PC world of today. Let's get a little bit more inclusive, Let's get like some of our good lady professors. Let's maybe give them tenure, Like why not? Mm-hmm. Now here's the heart of the show, man. I'm going to tell you what really dazzled me in the show and the character thing. So the whole show really revolves around her dealing with a problem teacher. This guy's name, her predecessor, who was the chair before her, who was also her buddy, guy named Bill, Professor. It's Bill something. Bill. Anyway, point being, Bill played by Jay Duplass. So this guy really impressed me. He's got great chemistry with Sandra Oh. There's kind of they're friends, and there's a little bit of romantic tension there. It's basically a show about. This guy his wife has passed, his daughter has left home for college, and he is depressed. And he has a really bad day at work that then turns into it's caught on camera, turns into a meme, and he essentially gets canceled. And she's trying to deal with this, Sandra Oh. She's trying to manage the situation. And you initially think, oh yeah, this guy might be kind of a slime ball, but no, he's not. There are layers to this man. You root for him, and we showed the sweetness and the layers to this guy.
So kind of like reversing the bad teacher archetype.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that angle.
Like, the show on the whole is about facing flaws and realities versus like the institutional perfection that we demand. Like
Dragon, with American Vandal, there's a stereotypical bad teacher who's just fucking hysterical. I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah,
just the way that he's basically just like a camera hog for the documentary, and he just wants to be like as over the top as possible. And he's clearly like one of those teachers that thinks he's like in the know with the popular kids. Anyways, I'm sorry, Dragon, but go ahead. This does sound really cool.
Yeah, this is a charming show, and I'm pretty sure it's like half hour an episode, so it's a quick watch. It was a satisfying watch. It was there's it's funny, but also there's a kind of a compelling sweetness, and also David Duchovny factors into it rather memorably.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Okay, so American Vandal season 2, the shit season.
It makes sense that would be season 2 given the subject matter.
Yeah, Dragon, here's the thing. This is probably like a little bit better produced than season 1, and they do have the in-universe excuse that Netflix funded season 2 after season 1 got really popular.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing, Dragon. I think the big thing that separates this from season 1 that really makes it less compelling for me, and it's a big change in the formula. In season 1, they knew all the kids that they were interacting with and interviewing. And so therefore it just made the tension of, it made the tension of the interviews, it made the tension of the episodes, it made the tension of the mystery just palatable, right? Because it was like kind of like this Dragon, it was basically like 13 Reasons Why, but good. You know what I mean? Season 2, they go to a private school and they're completely on the outside. They're completely just doing this as documentarians. And the mystery itself is definitely compelling. It definitely has a really interesting, thought-provoking resolution to it. But man, it's just like you just don't have that level of of social commentary of like, oh man, this documentary is like fucking up these kids' lives. I mean, like on some level there is, because it's like, like there's, as the narrative starts to change, there's certain characters where like, yo, why are you saying this about me in the documentary and whatever, you know what I mean? But man, it's the suspense about it is so much less palatable when, when it's like not people that they know, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so because of that, I just think it's a downgrade. Unfortunately, I really would have, if they had to do a season 2, I think I would have rather seen a season 2 where it was the same premise of them doing it in a school where they know everyone in the school, but maybe change up, who the documentary filmmakers are, because it's the same filmmakers in season 2. They're just, the idea is that this is their senior project for film school, or I guess their senior project for high school to get into film school. And so yeah, Dragon, in that regard, it's not really connected to season 1 at all. And honestly, with season 1, there are some plot threads with some of the characters that they could have gone into a little bit more, and they just didn't. So unfortunately, this was also the last season, so this kind of reminds me of something like Infinity Train, where like on its own, it's not a bad season. It's definitely a compelling mystery that gets resolved in a really interesting way. But it's also just, it's just not as, it just doesn't stick to landing as much. It's just not as palatable. And unfortunately, since it is the last season, there's not really, there's not really an opportunity to go back to the stuff that we loved about season 1. So, in the end, I'd give season 1 a 10 out of 10, and I'd give season 2 maybe a 7 out of 10. So season 2, worth watching, but a pretty big step down, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Now that
okay.
Comments.
That guy says this isn't really reality TV, but have you either of you heard of or watched Bo Burnham's Inside? That guy, I have not, because I fear that special would give me too much existential dread. Do you know anything about it, Dragon?
I keep seeing is Bo Burnham's like he's a comedian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like the thing on the little carousel. I've watched it, so.
Yeah, the reason why I think it would fill me with existential dread is it's essentially like his experience with the pandemic and going through quarantine, and it's like, fuck me, I don't want to go through quarantine again. I'm just frustrated with everything that's going on right now. So, I gotta say, for my own mental health, I am avoiding Bo Burnham Inside, but make no mistake, I've heard nothing but great things about it.
I did watch
that guy says I think both seasons are good, and disagree with Tiki that if they made it the same school and again people they knew, it would feel too similar. The fact that they were, well, what I'm pitching that guy is I'm pitching like, let's say they did the same thing with the with the turd burglar in season 2, but instead of the kids from season 1 doing the documentary, they had 2 different documentary filmmakers from that school. So you would have that added element of people knowing who they were. And, I don't know. Like I said, season 2 is certainly valid and it's certainly worth watching. Just for me, I just think the added tension of everyone knowing who everyone else was kind of elevated season 1 for me. So, but points for subjectivity and all that. I'm not saying your opinions are wrong, of course. So, all right.
Yeah. So, last comic special I saw on Netflix was Tig Notaro, her animated thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, okay. Let me. This is kind of a binary, much like the way we broke down American Vandal. Let me tell you, really knocked my socks off this month in 2 parts. Let's start with Dr. Death, the Undoctored story. So here's what happened, folks. So I was meaning to get to this, and I ended up going. I was going, okay, I'm going to go on Peacock. I'm going to watch this Dr. Death series they got, and of course, the moment I did that, it popped up, and it wasn't Dr. Death. It was, oh my god, there's a docu-series too, and I watched.
Oh god!
This looks. Now there's a fork in the road. What happened? So I remember I asked you, and you took forever to get back to me. So then I had to make the decision on my own, which essentially is what you were going to tell me anyway. Where I had to pick between, okay, do I watch the docu-series first, or do I watch the adaptation first? So I ended up.
I told you to watch the docu-series first, right?
Yeah, you did, but I came to that conclusion myself because I would have been dead by the time you got back. Anyway, but and honestly, I think it was a good call because ultimately I kind of knew the story, so I could measure how it was adapted when I watched the adaptation. So it kind of worked out. That's kind of that's the logic I had, and I assume that's the logic you had too. Okay, so this started off as a true crime podcast. It's like kind of a little known story that got a lot of traction.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because it was a podcast called, I guess, the Dr. Death podcast or something along those lines. Anyway, so then again, as I said, both adaptations on Peacock here. So the documentary is like 3 episodes, lays it out really well here. Very simple. That's all I'm going to tell you here. We'll get into the nitty gritty of it with the show. But it tells you about this neurosurgeon, Christopher Dunch, who performed surgeries that he was in no way skilled enough to do. So you have it's kind of like it's a horror story of you get from the testimonies of these patients who have been mutilated or killed.
Ooh, I don't think I could handle that, man.
You don't see
I
it.
don't do good with medical stuff.
Well, what I don't do good with medical stuff either. This is just the testimonies of the stuff.
Yeah, I know, but still, ooh.
Worst case, I mean, the other shows the one where you might have to put your hand in front of your face for a few bits, but Also, the craziest thing is the story of this poor guy who got decapitated on the table, who's alive. But the fact is, because they do it from he's facing down, so it's like he's decapitated, but not fully. And they had to fix that, and then putting him up in a chair when he just went in for hopefully he's fixing a minor issue versus now he's in a chair for the rest of his life. It's terrifying. So that's what I'm saying. This guy was a monster, and the staff was horrified by him. And this basically lays out that story, and again, just a compelling real life horror story in itself that will then get really interesting with the adaptation, which we'll get to. Okay.
Cool. All right, so Utopia season 1. All right, so I randomly saw this on Prime, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, that looks interesting enough. Why not?" Little did I know this was hugely controversial when it released last year because, frankly, it just had really shit timing because, the subject matter is all about preventing diseases and global pandemics.
I see.
Yeah, so it's there was not going to be a good time to release this thing.
God.
Here's what I like about it, though. I think it's a little over the top in the acting department, but I think this is all about basically a group of comic fans who discover a hidden conspiracy theory in the pages of a really obscure underground comic. And Dragon, what I like about it is I really think it does a great job of showing the found family element of fandoms in general with the main characters. I was really charmed by how the main characters kind of came together at this con at the start of the show. they bonded together very quickly. Like, I really thought that the show did a great job of kind of like establishing how how fandoms can really bond people together even in crazy circumstances. That was honestly my favorite element about the show. I thought there were a lot of really good really good character dynamics at play here. There's also a really fucking creepy villain, Dragon, who's kind of Kevin Spacey like just in his appearance, and he goes around in the first episode just very casually, just very calmly, room to room, mass murdering anyone who has seen the comic book that the group of fans are after. So it's like this guy is like, he's basically like Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. It's like he is on a mission to find our heroes, and our heroes are kind of like on the run. There is one character, Dragon, who gets introduced towards the end of the first episode, and she is linked to the comic conspiracy, and she's probably like by far my least favorite character in the show. Just because I think she's like really over the top in a way that like the other characters just aren't. Like, she kind of reminds me of a character out of The Walking Dead or something, where the other characters they're like over the top in the way they're performed, but like as far as characterization goes, they're pretty grounded. Whereas this woman is just kind of, like I said, she's very much kind of like Michonne from The Walking Dead or something. I'm like, okay, this is not mixing with reality that well. But yeah, like I said, it's the main core cast that I got invested in. I will warn you that the series is incredibly violent, and there are a few shocking deaths. Like, there's definitely some some Ryan Johnson style subverting expectation as far as who dies. But overall, it's definitely a fun time. And John Cusack actually plays the guy who's kind of like at the head of the mystery, and he's very creepy in his own right. It's definitely kind of like an ominous John Cusack performance. So yeah, overall, I had a lot of fun with Utopia. Not the best thing I saw this month, but I had a lot of fun with it.
All right. Okay, let me hit you with Dr. Death. Like, just simply called Dr. Death. Now, this is again a 8-episode miniseries, limited series, I guess, on Peacock. This was a standout for the month, man. This is like the best thing I've seen on Peacock.
Uh-huh.
This is amazing. Yeah, so this is, again, the story itself, as I kind of laid out for you with the docuseries, already compelling. But this had what that series didn't have was Dunch himself, and that's what you have here. You have the characters at play, which basically is kind of a triangle of three here. You have Dunch, who's our bad guy, very clearly, and the two doctors who campaigned to stop him. Basically, they worked within the bounds of, they worked by the book to stop him, without crossing any lines ethically. And it's got a great cast. You have someone you may be familiar with, Tiki, as Dunch himself, Joshua Jackson from the Mighty Ducks in Dawson's Creek.
Yeah,
that guy.
Bedazzled actually has a comment that says, I haven't seen the doc, but I remember the podcast and saw the fictional show. So that's why Charlie wasn't in the Mighty Ducks reboot show.
Yep. Yeah, he's very well cast. He looks just like the guy. And here's the thing: the over the time in the story, he puts on weight, and the actor as well that put on weight.
Oh God, and there's also a Mighty Ducks reference in another thing we're gonna get to.
Yeah. But seriously, Tika, this thing was this was top tier. This was compelling. I love you're gonna love this. Alec Baldwin and Christian Slater. They played the two doctors, Dr. Henderson, Dr. Kirby, and Slater's great. He's like, the idea is like an odd couple. Where Henderson's very ethical, he's very reserved. Where Slater's he's a wisecracker. He's the one and the episodes it's laid out very well with flashback structures and things where it shows you like, Slater's the one who heard, wait, that guy's operating on people? I saw him do an operation once. It terrified me. And Baldwin, his character is the guy who's patching up the victims, and that's how he stumbled upon, like, who did this to these people?
Interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah, just great stuff. And again, having watched it the way I did, there was a moment of the decapitation where it's like under your nose, like, wait, because they don't really spell it out for you, but it's like, oh my God. That's the guy. I had no idea that was going to be the guy, and then we made him the victim, the decapitation victim. Oh my God! So just an excellent excellent series. It's going to be 8 episodes. It'd be 8 hours well spent, or less than 8 hours well spent. It's really good stuff. Baldwin has a scene that just like that just makes your heart sing, where it sings on the hill. Take you to put it that way. It's just where he takes the stand and he lists out the wrong that this guy has done, and it's just so great. And you get to see the reactions on the courtroom, and it's wonderful. So just excellent show. Like is the guy psychopath? Is he just an incompetent with an ego? It's like there's the ambiguity there. It's just very compelling stuff. I highly recommend.
Nice. Okay, that guy says, "Okay, fellas, got to go. I'm watching a movie about a killer teddy bear." We'll have fun with that. That guy, thanks for joining us. Let's see. Bedazzled is also a big fan. Dragon. He says Alec Baldwin was so good, and Christian Slater so carefree.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, let's get back into something I watched. Oh boy, Dragon. Oh man, Dragon. If you ever need a pick-me-up, this is the show for you. Stanley Tucci searching for Italy.
Now you know how much I love Stanley Tucci.
Of course. Dragon, this is Stanley Tucci basically doing one of those kind of like, Anthony Bourdain style, like gonna travel around and eat food type of shows. But the difference with this is that, Tucci is, of course, like a very full-blooded Italian. And so he's going around to different parts of Italy, and he's kind of showcasing how Italy isn't just like pizza and pasta, how the cuisine kind of is as varied and as exotic as the people and the locations themselves. And Dragon, it's basically just a big love letter to Italy and how Italy just like, is more than what you just kind of like think about at first glance. And oh my god, it's so goddamn charming. Tucci just interacts with the locals in just such a charming way. It's a show that's just so comfortable to watch. It's easy to binge. It'll put a smile on your face. I've had some kind of rough times this month, so it was definitely kind of some escapist TV that I sort of needed. Dragon, it's not going to win any Emmys. It's not going to blow your mind, but man, it is comfort TV at its finest.
At its cushiest.
Yeah, for sure. You can find it on HBO Max.
Oh yeah. Okay, so folks, the next couple, we're going to kind of tag team this. So here's what happened. So Netflix has this, it's not strictly a series, but it's kind of a series of kind of mini documentaries, if you will, or in some case feature length. I don't know. It's basically there's these series of sports documentaries, but they're not really keying in on the sports necessarily. They're the events that take place surrounding the sports, if that makes any sense. So, basically I watched one, Tiki watched one, and then we both kind of watched one. So,
oh, you didn't watch Malice at the Palace?
I did not, because I got sidetracked with the other one, and so. But yeah,
okay,
so
that's fair.
I figured to kind of give us a good handoff,
All right.
So let's start off with Deal with the Devil.
All right, yeah, this is the one that I didn't watch just because I don't know. For me, it's like boxing. Boxing just doesn't interest me as much as hockey and basketball does. But
But again, I think with all of these, the sports are really kind of
inconsequential.
Oh
yeah, for sure. I'm just saying, like, I have more of an attachment to hockey and basketball.
Sure. So yeah, the story of this one is this was again, they're all about the human struggles behind the scenes. And in this case, it was Christy Martin, who was one of the very influential. I don't know if she was the very first, one of the initial first female boxers that really kind of made like the record winning. Like I think she won 50 fights or won 49 fights, and then something bad happened to her. And that bad thing was that her husband, who was also her trainer, that basically got her to these boxing levels of the dexterity in the boxing ring that she has, tried to kill her.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and that's basically the idea is like the 50th bout was like, her bout against her husband. So that's kind of what the build of the documentary is. And it's really well laid out the way they do that there. And the idea is like she was kind of suffering at the hands of this abusive husband. Like he videotaped her, like everything. Basically, she was always under his watchful eye, which is creepy. So yeah, it's sort of it's kind of had the fight of her life amidst the boxing fight. So that was. Yeah, that was pretty good. Again, the deal with the devil being you're gonna use this guy to kind of like be the best you can be, but how good are you going to be when you're under his thumb?
Sure.
So yeah, so that was good. That was better than I thought it was going to be. So then that brings us to yours, which I started watching, but then I honestly I kind of got distracted. And I kind of fell off at the beginning. Where it's like, man, we're just getting a lot of people like starting to reminisce about what's happening. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Malice at the Palace, man. It's I actually remember this happening, which is why I was drawn to it. And Dreg, what I like about this is that it's kind of an exploration of the whole concept of like you could lose everything in the blink of an eye just based on like one mistake, you know. And for the Malice at the Palace, the one mistake was the one guy who got, you know, who jumped into the stands because someone threw a water bottle at him, and then he jumped into the stands, and then after that it was like all over. You know, it was just chaos. It was like one of the worst brawls in NBA or professional sports history. And everyone involved in that fight, all the players that were involved in that fight, for the most part, their careers were more or less over after that. And you know, with the interviews, you really get a sense of you know, just how regretful, and it very much is kind of a you know, a fable of sorts. You know, very much a cautionary tale of like, you know, look, like even under extreme pressure, you can't, you know, like there's certain rules that you just don't cross, and going into the stands is one of them, even if, you know, even if you're on the enemy's home turf, and you know the crowd is very actively against you. You know, it's very much just you know, just kind of like one of those lessons about not losing yourself under pressure. And Dragon, as you know, with me, that's something that I struggle with myself. So, you know, it was I definitely got into it. I definitely got a lot out of it.
All right, then lastly, we both watched this one, Crime and Penalties, is the most recent one they added.
Okay, so is the guy who is the spitting image of Hank Schrader, do you agree with me on this point?
Do you mean the commissioner, right? That guy?
Yes, the commissioner.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, he is very Hank Schrader-esque, yes. I agree, yeah.
Dragon, I will say this is probably I like this one a little bit more than Malice at the Palace.
Yeah, me too with mine too. Yeah, I thought it was
just
the best
because
of the bunch.
I thought it was compelling on both sides, because I thought like the Hank Schrader type figure was absolutely in the right. Like, oh my god, this is like a total shit show. But what I really like is that, like, you know, the 17-year-old, you genuinely like get into his mindset, and you see like, you know, like how it would come about, you know, and how you know, it came about like basically through, you know, maybe like a mob mentality, but also, you know, good intentions from a father to his son. And, you know, this kid genuinely was a super fan of hockey and really meant well and really wanted to bring something to the sport, you know. So I gotta say, he was the most compelling character for me. I really got a kick out of his interviews.
Yeah,
but all the interviews in this are a lot of fun, though. The guy who was the former PE teacher and was you know who I'm talking about, the Howie Mandel looking guy.
You mean the guy who pulled the pranks?
Yeah, the guy who was basically just like, cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I believe that's the same guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was a kick, man. That guy was a character. I mean, oh man. I don't know. Just there's something about the energy here where it's like, I love how it's a story that there's no real right side to it, because it's like you kind of like, it was obviously a situation that got out of hand, but like you can't even like, you know, you can't even be that mad at the kid, because the kid was like so earnest about what he was trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, what this is, you know, it's a literal. I love how we call it out too. This is Sopranos meets hockey, literally.
Totally.
And I loved it. I really did. You know, I just love that at its core is a mob, you know, kind of mob father and son story. That's what really got me. The whole, you know, the Galanti family here, where it's just this. Just the fact that it is a gesture. It's a gift, but it's double sided because it's money laundering. But it also was a gift to his son. Like, you know, he's basically using it as a front. But it was like, hey, my son cares about this. I'm going to kind of support his dreams. And the fact, it's just the beautiful thing that touched me is that, oh, his son injured himself, so he can't play hockey, but he can still be in the games. I thought that was the emotional core of the story.
So
and
like, there's absolutely like an emotional reason to do what he did.
Yes, and the fact that the kid is like, it's kind of a nature nurture thing where it's not intentional, but he is, the mob environment he grew up in is literally bleeding into the hockey business as the business model. Like, okay, well, I need bruisers. Well, guys who have probably been in the clink, let's get them. They could be really good bruisers. And it's like you get where his mind was at, but it's like, you know, Were these the right things? Were the ethical things? Definitely not. But again, it started in a really, for the kid, he had no idea about the money laundering. It was coming from a very pure place for him. So that's what I'm saying. Netflix, I think, honestly, taking on the whole with the Untold series and what they've been doing for at least these three, for example, I think Netflix is getting inventive with their documentary work again, especially with some of the big stuff we're talking about with our next segment. I think they've been really picking up the pace again.
I agree.
Yeah, getting back on the horse. All right, so that brings us out of the TV and onto the screen.
All right. So, yeah, 2021 movies.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Suicide Squad, I mean, obviously we did a whole thing about this. Monkey just got around to seeing it, so I was kind of geeking out with him about it last night. But, yeah, I mean, Dragon, I will say I did rewatch both of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I'd have to say I would put this above Volume 2, but below Volume 1. That's kind of where I'm ranking it right now.
That seems fair. I don't know.
I think Volume 1 really holds up. Volume 2, I was maybe a little too stoked on. I still think Volume 2 has some excellent standalone segments, though, and of course that ending is maybe the best ending of any MCU movie as far as I'm concerned. But
you put the first Guardians over the second Guardians.
At this point, yes. At this point, I think
I agree with that. I'm just saying before, you were very...
No, I know. I know.
That's all. I just wanted to clarify. Things have changed. That's fine. Yeah,
I mean, I do think that Ego's a better villain than Ronan is, but...
Well, yeah, anyway. So, so the Suicide Squad, of course, James Gunn tailor-made to direct the Suicide Squad unequivocally. I love this. For me, again,
I think this movie just absolutely fires on every cylinder. I think the opening is just genius.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Harley Quinn subplot just gets better and better every time I see it. I think the payoff is awesome. I mean, I don't know. It's just everything about it just radiates for me. I think every single character is just cast so well.
Yeah, again, for me, honestly, the only gripe I have is what gets us to that Harley Quinn thing. It's just kind of, it's out of nowhere, but I mean, it's...
But the payoff is still really good, though.
Yeah, and I have nothing's wrong with the payoff. Just getting there is just really choppy of like, why are this? It just came out, but again, that's my biggest problem. It's not saying much,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just love that what he did is he honored the worst of the worst aspect of the Suicide Squad, and in his definition of worst, it's like, well, worst would be the C and D listers, kind of like that Osterman run, It's going to get like the lowest tier more than like let's not highlight the uber like we're bad guys. Like, okay, we know they're bad guys. Let's emphasize, like, man, they suck as bad guys though.
Yeah,
but we also have some really great performances by Idris Elba and Joel Kinnaman, of course. Elba killed it, but more so our standouts, Polka Dot Man and the Rat Catcher.
Yeah, Polka Dot Man, Rat Catcher, King Shark. Those three are just like such a great top three.
I don't want to list off everyone, but also John Cena. No one delivered halfway. I
mean, even someone like like Pete Davidson, I think, kind of like made an impression for how little screen time he actually gets. I feel like everyone got a chance to shine in some way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, and also Wish Come True with Starro.
Of course, yeah.
And also, we know James Gunn, they confirmed this, that he is doing more DC work. We just don't know what exactly would be next. But at the very least, we know he's doing Peacemaker next. So beyond that, he's coming back.
We're going to be seeing TDK in Peacemaker.
Yes. Me too.
All right.
Me too.
Okay, so Batman Long Halloween Part 2. I like this quite a lot. I don't think it hit me quite as hard as Part 1 did. I don't think it was quite as theatrical as Part 1. But, I mean, for what it is, it's a very solid wrap-up to the story. Very atmospheric, as always. Really good depiction of the villains. I mean, I don't have nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah, I think they stuck the landing with Part 2, which I'm very relieved by, because it would have been really embarrassing if, like, oh god, what if it comes up really short? There's a lot of story to tell.
Right.
I mean, all signs, all signs that point to this is our next kind of this in continuity line Batman. With a very promising debut, which I'm very satisfied by. Like, okay, let's hopefully even get Ackles back to keep doing the voice, and we have a really great basis for our Batman. This is awesome. Using Long Halloween as the springboard. Part 2, definitely more a Harvey Dent story, where Part 1's the Gotham story. And I think we honored the mystery. We added some great wrinkles and suspects and some fun surprises in Part 2. And I love that, the way the families are responsible for Gotham in Part 1. In Part 2, those families are responsible for Harvey Dent's transition to Two-Face. So it's a really nice kind of symmetrical kind of story in that regard. And I think it's really cool that the Killing Joke notwithstanding, the big three Batman stories, their animated counterparts are debatably equal, if not better, than the originals. I got to be honest; they're really great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, major win.
Okay. All right, Free Guy.
Yeah!
I don't like it as much as most people do. I still like it a lot. I still think it's a solid movie. Like, I can't see myself going back and rewatching it over and over again, but it's solid. I'd give it a solid, 7.5, 8 out of 10. I don't know. I think it's maybe getting a little bit overhyped.
Well, I mean, some of that's uncontrollable because, I mean, this was probably my most anticipated film of 2020 that finally happened. So there's a little bit of that pandemic salivation going on. I won't lie. But, for me, it lived up to the hype and it delivered on what it promised, which I think is nowadays is such a rare thing. We're like, hey, we didn't get tricked in the marketing. It's literally what it was. And it was fun. I think this is Sean Levy's best since the first night at the museum. I don't know if it tops it, but it's the best he's done since then. It's the first one. I like Ryan Reynolds playing the earnest optimist. Kind of playing opposite what he usually does. Jodie Comer, who I love in Killing Eve, she was a great kind of co-lead with him in this. And as I kind of said during the thing, I think the moral was the most refreshing element of the movie for me. Is the fact of let's a world in which maybe let's enrich the world of video games a little bit with the moral. Instead of let's just rob people and and steal their cars and shoot them. In Act 3, I think you and I can both agree, though. Act 3, a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, your boy's in that one, but we won't say exactly what. But yeah, he's great.
Okie dokie. Next up, we have Bob Ross, Happy Accidents, Betrayal, and Greed. This blew me away. It honestly really did.
I had a feeling it would.
Dragon, I really think this might be the best documentary since Won't You Be My Neighbor, hands down. What I love about this documentary is how it incorporates so many familiar, almost comfortable elements of the Bob Ross show, the little the whack the devil out of it and the happy little bush and and bringing his son on and man, it twists that into such a compelling narrative that Dragon, I'll say this, I'm never going to be able to watch the Bob Ross show the same way again after this.
Yeah. Now you know what he's thinking about when he's whacking that brush. He's whacking the devil out of it.
Well, I mean, not only the whacking the devil out of it, but the fact that
possibly killed him.
That could have directly led to his cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was always one of the most endearing things about the show.
Yeah. Yes, I'm with you. This is a fascinating to me. Here. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay? This is yet again another case of this is the fascinating documentary of the year that you guessed it will not be getting an Oscar.
That's so totally. I'm totally expecting it. Yeah.
So far, this is my Oscar frontrunner, and I know it's not going to get it.
Yeah,
not even a nomination.
I'm with you.
It's not that it's going to lose; it's that it's not going to be nominated. There's no way it would
wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong.
Me too.
But this feels like exactly if Won't You Be My Neighbor didn't get nominated, this is not going to get nominated.
Yep. So this was utterly the mind-bending story of the Bob Ross legacy, how Bob Ross's legacy and name not only was built, but also how it was stolen, very tragically. Just the idea of this kind man, this kind man who taught us all how to paint so nicely, so pleasantly. It's the idea that he was mistreated the way he was, and it's just gobsmacking this documentary. It's just truly. And I love. Again, I love how he took the Tao of Ross, just the Tao of all the
yeah.
wisdom
Oh, totally.
Here,
I mean, it very much reminded me of Won't You Be My Neighbor in the way that we idolize him, but in a way where I genuinely feel like the man deserves to be idolized.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Tiki, just putting it in that frame like you just did. You know what it really is? It's like we've legitimized the hype on Bob Ross. It's like, well, Bob Ross, like to the casual passerby. I think we through pop culture osmosis, we all know Bob Ross, and that's what I'm saying. Like we kind of know him by that, but I don't think we ever really knew him through that vein, though. It's like, why is this Bob Ross guy in like all the calendars and everything? What's the? I mean, I didn't know he was that popular. It's like how the Bob Marley T-shirts have gone crazy and everything. You know, it's like they're all over the place. But now we know why they deserve to be all over the place. You know, but by the same token, though, as we learned in this, they're all over the place, but there's a dark side to them being all over the place, which is just like, oh no, it's like anyone who's ever bought, like, folks, don't buy the Bob Ross stuff, okay? Watch the documentary.
Yeah, I never will.
Like, maybe this documentary. Like, folks, like, learn from him. Don't buy his stuff, okay? I know it sounds like a weird oxymoron.
Go to an independent art class to learn how to paint. If you really want to take the next step, don't like get his paint sets.
But I honestly, I just love the Dow, particularly of like, the landmark title here of like, you don't make mistakes, you just make happy little accidents. And with that, it's like I think that's kind of the premise of the thing here, where it's mistakes were absolutely made, both in everyone's judgment, but also even Bob Ross is like who to trust. Some mistakes were made, but they at the end of the story, without saying exactly what happens, I think he was endeared to the people, and
sure.
Now the word's out with the documentary. So in a sense, it did become a happy. Ideally, it'll become a happy little accident. So it's kind of an optimistic kind of like ... to the horror, and I think that's kind of well captured in the documentary. Again, it just blew me away as well. It's excellent.
Yeah, definitely.
Netflix with another documentary one since Jim and Andy for me.
All right, cool.
All right. So speaking of, let's see, speaking of documentaries, let me tell you about Val.
All right, now I watched this one too.
Oh, you did? Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I got around to it.
Okay, well, what'd you think of it?
I really liked it. I don't think it's quite as captivating as the Bob Ross one, but I mean, the format of it is really good, though.
Yeah.
How they use his son as the narrator while he's in the condition where he can't speak for himself. I mean, it's Dragon. I knew this would be kind of a difficult watch, and I was right, but at the same time, it is very life affirming.
Yeah.
Very much reminds me of that Roger Ebert documentary from about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it is a lot like the Life Itself.
Life Itself, yeah. I think it's called.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just realized. Hey, you're absolutely right. You did tell me so. I forgot that.
What?
Yeah, I completely forgot. Yeah, you did tell me you saw Val. Right.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, this is a wonderful testament to the man's life before and after he lost his voice, and I love the fact that we got his son who sounds like him to narrate it.
Yeah,
that was like a heady. Yeah. You know what the irony? I don't know if I assume you've heard about this, like everyone else since the documentary came out. It was kind of oddly timed that. Now he's got like this AI thing that has his all the dialogue he's spoken in all of his movies there, so he can actually speak.
Really?
Like, yeah, they worked up this AI that I don't know if it's like the autocorrect thing, where it's like a predictive software of some kind, but it pulls Val Kilmer dialogue from the movies and speaks for
kind
him.
Of crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like a nice little unofficial PS.
I think it's life affirming though, just because like. You can tell even when he's in the state that he's in, that he's still like so full of life and so full of character and so full of personality.
Yeah, certainly. And I also learned some really interesting things about him too. Like I had no idea like how he felt about the limitations of the bat suit. I didn't know he lost a brother, and also the infamy of Val Kilmer's reputation for being a little persnickety of an actor about the craft.
I did know about that actually.
Right. Well, I mean, I know how much I know is like a recurring thing. I thought maybe like a project. Like, for example, Dr. Moreau was like a crapshoot on every end, so I didn't really blame that on him. I think everyone was a little upset on that one. Let's see. The Mark Twain thing I thought was really interesting. The fact that Mark Twain was his last performance, that he literally bet the farm on, to play Mark Twain. I thought that was rather fitting. That was, so that was a good watch.
Yeah, for sure.
No Bob Ross, but it was a good watch.
Okay. So next, oh sweet Jesus, Annette.
Yeah, tell me that. I was thinking about what. Tell me, should I
Oh
see it?
no.
That bad, really? Because I saw the star
It's
rating.
not
I don't know if
bad. I like it a lot. It's not a movie for you.
Okay.
Dragon, this thing is like my one sentence pitch is it's like La La Land on a ketamine bender, man. It is weird. It is really weird.
Mm.
If you can handle a musical that's like it's a musical in the sense that it's sung through, but not in the sense that there's like organic songs or melodies. Oh man, there's so much weird and off-putting imagery in here. But I will say the cast is fantastic. The cast is definitely great. Adam Driver, maybe his best role yet. Adam Driver is definitely having a year. He's coming out with a few things that are getting some Oscar hype. He plays a stand-up comedian in this that's kind of like a shock comedian. So, he's kind of very much kind of channeling like cancel culture and that kind of stuff when, into his performance. Marion Cotillard plays an opera singer who's his wife. The two of them have a very public relationship that's kind of like, like a Brad and Jennifer, that kind of thing, like a very paparazzi heavy relationship. They have a kid. The kid is literally a wooden puppet.
Wait, what?
So that happens.
Okay, I'm sorry. I might have missed something. So
they have a kid, and the kid is literally a wooden puppet.
Okay, so did she literally? So they adopted the wooden puppet?
No.
So she gave birth.
Yes.
To a is it a sentient wooden puppet?
Yes.
Okay, so it's sentient, but it's a wooden puppet though.
Yes.
Oh, it's a lie.
I told you this would lose you.
No, yeah, you're right. I didn't expect, I didn't expect, it's like Richard Donner visiting Brando, and he's expecting green suitcase, and he gets bagels. Okay, I didn't expect that.
Dragon, it's symbolic. It's like the child has like a beautiful singing voice, and Adam Driver exploits her. And so, do you get it? It's like she's a puppet.
It's a girl?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But do you get it? It's like she's
yeah.
being exploited for her talent, so she's a puppet. Do you get it?
Yeah, no, I got it.
It's very on the nose symbolism.
It was a little too unsubtle for me to get, but now I got it.
Dragon, Simon Hellenberg is easily the best part of the movie. Like, he's easily the thing that really stood out.
He is an underrated actor, by the way.
Yeah, his character is called the Accompanist, and he's basically like the band director for Marion Cotillard, her backup band.
Does he play the piano in that?
What?
Does he play the piano in it?
Yes, he does. And he also has a scene where he's conducting an orchestra and also delivering exposition. That's like the most compelling exposition dump I've ever seen.
Gotcha.
Like that, you should look up that scene on YouTube alone. Like that scene on YouTube is that's worth watching just in itself. It's like a one shot too. But anyways, his character, basically there's like a love triangle involved with him, Marion Cotillard, and Adam Driver. And there's also some tension involved in like, is he the father of the child or not? And of
the wooden
female child. The whole thing has very much kind of like an auteur vibe to it. It's
really? I didn't pick up on that at all.
Well, I'm saying like it starts out with like literally all the characters kind of like coming out directly facing the audience and singing "So Can We Start? So Can We Start?"
It's one of those.
And then it ends with like a tracking shot in a field where all the performers are kind of like walking away, and they're kind of like breaking character, and they're going off to have dinner. So it's very much like you've just witnessed a performance kind of thing. All right, but yeah, overall, very weird movie. I'm glad you didn't watch it because I know you wouldn't like it. But I will send you the Hellenberg clip because I think you'd like that. Like the Hellenberg clip would honestly work as like a 3-minute
it's weird
film.
I know. Here's the thing: the way you sent it to me, because at first I had like a double take. Like, is it Heidelberg or here's the thing: I've heard him pronounce Heidelberg, but it doesn't spell that way at all. That's the weird.
Well, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I know it's spelled Hellenberg.
I know that's the thing. That's why
Yeah.
I know he's not wrong with the spelling there, but I keep hearing him pronounce Heidelberg. It's weird how that works.
All right.
Anyway, okay, this next one won't take long at all. Memories of Murder, the Nilsson tapes. Okay, so I don't know if you remember a while back, one of the memoirs we did this year, a couple of months back. I watched this series called Des on AMC Plus. It's like a mini. It was a BBC miniseries.
I vaguely remember that. Sure.
With David Tennant. It's a great series. 3 episodes, wonderful. This essentially is the same story, only through the tapes that were recorded from Des Nilsson. Basically, the serial killer who just like admitted to everything, but he was so kind of mirthless, he couldn't remember any of the names of his victims. He just walked into a police station once caught. Or once they found like remnants of bodies, he like outside of his apartment, he walked in there and he basically, okay, I did this, that's me. He's very callously admitted to it all. And these are the tapes of that and just any further interviews he did for like his book and everything that he was writing while he was like getting ready for trial and all that stuff. And simply put, watch the series. This was fine. I don't know if you want to do the Dr. Death thing and watch this, then that, but honestly, the show was better. They had some testimony from neighbors. It's about it. It's okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched The Lake House, or I'm sorry, not The Lake House, The Night House. I'm sorry, very different movie there.
Remind me, The Lake. Is that the one with Sandra Bullock and?
Yes, I think it is. Yeah,
it looked like the time traveling mailbox.
Oh God,
we did in Rick. Didn't we do that, Rick? And
all right. Control yourself.
No, not Rick and Morty. It's Solar Opposites. Go on.
Okay, so yes, it is the
Night
one
House.
that got parodied in Solar Opposites. Yes,
The Night House.
All right. So the basic premise of this is that basically after the unexpected death of her husband, Rebecca Hall, she has inherited a lakeside house. So that's hence the confusion.
Yeah, no, I get it now.
It is literally a lake house. So that her husband built for her. So essentially, Dragon, this is a slow burn thriller where I don't want to give anything away, but she's like kind of slowly uncovering things that are literally beneath the floorboards of this house, where it's like, oh, what's going on here? Oh God, like my husband maybe is not the guy that I imagined him to be. And Dragon, I gotta say, it's a decent little slow burn thriller. I'd recommend it. It's not going to blow your socks off, but Sarah Goldberg is in it. It is a pretty, I will say, she has a pretty stereotypical like supportive best friend role. But it's nice to see her pop up in something other than Barry. So I didn't really get a ton out of this one, just because I've seen a lot of thrillers that kind of like take on the same. Basically, Dragon, okay, I know exactly how to describe this. You remember that movie Serenity?
Yeah.
So this movie feels like Serenity if Serenity didn't have that batshit twist.
So basically, if Serenity were like the really weird movie before said twist.
No. What I'm saying is that it's basically like Serenity. It's basically the movie that I walked into Serenity expecting it to be, which is pretty much just a passable little little thriller. And that's what I got, It's like Serenity is obviously like I went into it not having any expectations. I was just like, well, I like Matthew McConaughey and the premise sounds halfway interesting, so I'll give it a shot. And you know what happened with Serenity. The rest is history. It's one of my all-time favorite so bad it's good movies. That twist is absolutely insane. But with this, it's just, it's just okay. The premise sounded somewhat intriguing. I liked some of the cast members, and it's not a bad movie, but it didn't really like captivate me. So, all right,
okay, all right. The last one's a little tricky. Okay, this is Reminiscence, the HBO Max and theatrical release. So this is the Hugh Jackman movie on HBO Max. So this movie, it's getting a lot of, it's not really well received, but I think it's a cool concept. I think there's a lot of things that really, I like a lot of the premise. I really do. it's a cool concept. It's well visualized. Basically, it's we are a nostalgia based culture, and that's absolutely where we're heading. And this basically is like kind of
Yeah.
this is like a sci-fi noir piece, so it's like a neo noir thing, I guess you call it. And it's very simple. Just this guy, is Hugh Jackman, runs a memory clinic essentially, where you get into like a little water tank, little immersion tank thing, and then it projects your memory on like kind of this awesome screen thing. Yeah, the visual looks great. It's wonderful. Really kind of Minority Report-esque, I guess you might call it. So again, that's a really cool concept. And like one of the visual things we do with the world is it's in the future. And I'm pretty sure the idea is like global warming happened, took its toll, and like Florida flooded. So so for example, like the kind of like the whole water gimmick of the immersion tank is kind of surrounding the world. So if you step outside while you're in like points that were close to the ice caps, you're like the water levels have rise. So it's like all the streets are watered down. So it's like you're pretty much like you're in Venice every time.
Right.
So like all that I thought was great. And, I like a good noir story. I think that really works well with memory. I thought that gimmick was cool. Basically, I liked it, but it was too long, and I think you lose interest when you're watching the movie. I did myself. Where it's like, the biggest problem is the motive. The motive and the runtime kind of hurts the movie. And I think that's where I'm getting where the audiences really don't like it. Where it's it's the fact of it's a weak sauce like motive for the mystery, but the payoff to the mystery is satisfying. The ending of the movie is good. Just getting there is like, okay, what's happening? I mean, it's like the visuals are cool, but it's not a lot there. So Reminiscence kind of petered out, but it's a shame because I think it had a lot going for it. So yeah.
Okay.
Basically, it was definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry. Basically, it was definitely one where do not. I wouldn't recommend seeing it in theaters. Just definitely go with the HBO Max on that one if you want to watch it.
I mean, honestly, the way you describe it, it doesn't even sound like it's worth the time to watch.
I mean, again, if you want to see the cool at least check out like a few minutes of it. But anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Vivo. This is the follow-up to the Mitchells versus the Machines from Sony Animation on Netflix, and it's not as good. Big surprise there, because the Mitchells versus the Machines is pretty much a masterpiece, so it'd be hard to live up to. Dragon, this is fun. I'm honestly kind of having a hard time deciding what I like between this and Arlo the Alligator Boy. I think this is a little bit more sophisticated in its storytelling. It's got some, it's got some interesting animation techniques. There's a couple sequences of 2D animation in particular that are pretty beautiful. And of course, the songwriting style, Lin-Manuel Miranda. I will say, I think this soundtrack I like better than the Moana soundtrack, just because it's got more Lin-Manuel Miranda flavor throughout. It very much feels like, because basically, Dragon, with Moana, the only songs that feel like they're legitimately Lin-Manuel Miranda are On Your Own, which nobody ever even talks about, and then You're Welcome to a certain extent. But other than that, those songs are really not the most Lin-Manuel Miranda songs. This is kind of the opposite. Like, there's a couple songs that are more ballads, but for the most part, it's kind of just like, yeah, Rapping Monkey, here we go. I will say, Dragon, what I don't like as much compared to Arlo the Alligator Boy is the characters are just kind of meh. The little girl is pretty much just female Russell, and that's it. Like, it's a very, very familiar character arc. But it's got some heartfelt moments. It's got some decent levels of suspense. Let's see have you seen it?
No, I contemplated seeing it, but then I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this.
I mean, I think you'd enjoy it. I don't think it's, I don't think it's a masterpiece by any means, but I do think it, I do think it's good enough to stand on its own. I think it's, like I said, Dragon, I'd probably watch it just for the 2D animated sequences alone. Let's see. I'm trying to remember anything else that is of note. Michael Rooker plays a villainous snake, so he's a highlight.
Huh.
And also, I really like the setting of the Florida Everglades. I think that's it's a unique setting and it's a colorful setting that you don't usually see in animated films. So props there. So yeah, Dragon, this isn't going to light the world on fire like the Mitchells versus the Machines did by any means, but I'd still recommend it. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Now we get to catch up. Dragon, you know that number 7 out of 10?
Yeah.
Get used to hearing it with my catch up.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's a running theme with my catch up of like, yeah, I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Oh boy, I get a bad feeling.
Get used to that. All right. Okay. So who's first? Am I first?
Well,
Who talks first?
Tiki, you're first. You have the thing. It's you.
Okay. So Street Gang.
Yes.
Yeah, Dragon. This was, I'll give it an 8 out of 10, not a 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's a relief.
To start out with.
Okay, one number makes such a difference, folks. But oh yeah. So I've seen this. I liked it. How did you feel about it?
I certainly liked it. I mean, you kind of braced me for the fact that it wasn't going to be an I Am Big Bird or anything like that, and it wasn't. Certainly the thing that I found the least compelling about it was that I feel like it kind of lacked an overall thesis. It was, it was kind of just like, hey, here's how it happened. Here's how we brought the gang together,
Which, I mean, that is the thesis, though. It's pretty much that's.
No, I understand that's the thesis, but like, I just feel like with something like Sesame Street, like, there is material where you could make a little bit more of a statement with it, if that makes sense. Like, like they touched on the inner city kids thing, and they touched on that. I kind of wish that they would have gotten a little like honestly, Dragon. One of the more compelling points that I wish they would have gotten more into was the children of the actor who played Gordon kind of feeling a little bit isolated. Seeing their dad on TV with with different kids. Like that was a really compelling plot point that I don't. You know what I mean? It's like I just kind of feel like this documentary, like, while on a whole, it's certainly filled with interesting facts and interesting stories. If there was like one thing that would have tied everything together, I think it would have felt a little bit more complete. If there was like maybe one very emotional narrative running throughout it. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I mean, I would argue I can't say it runs throughout, but I say it kind of becomes more in focus was the John Stone element of the story. I think it's really kind of John Stone's story ultimately. I think Henson gets the ball rolling, then John Stone runs with it.
But I mean, I don't necessarily think there's all that much emotion in the story. He's pretty much like the guy who gets it done. But I mean, there's not a ton of pathos to it, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not a ton of it. I mean, I think the pathos that he really cared about, and he threw everything into it. But outside of that, you're right, because it's not there from start to finish. I mean, yeah, but
it's tricky, Dragon. It's tricky because I Am Big Bird is just that's such a towering documentary as far as that documentary is like a masterclass of combining like personal elements of someone's life with a pop culture, with a story that's rooted in pop culture.
Let me tell you again, you're right. This isn't like kind of the overall narrative, but just as an element that it has in its favor with the pathos. Carol Spinney's last appearance. I mean, that kind of
Sure.
I'm just saying that kind of like that's what I'm saying. I think there's kind of really good peaks within it of like those moments that are kind of consistent. Let me ask you this. Taking I Am Big Bird out of the equation, because there's like the trinity of the Sesame Street documentaries. You got that, you got I Am Big Bird, you got this, and Becoming Elmo. Do you think this might be a little bit over Becoming Elmo, or do you think Becoming Elmo is?
I'd have to watch Becoming Elmo again.
That's really good too.
As it stands now, I think just because again, Becoming Elmo is a little bit more personal, I'd probably put it a little bit above this.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah,
but still, though, I mean, three. No, I don't think
it's solid, Dragon. It's definitely solid for sure.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's see. So that brings us to mystery movie time.
Oh, all right.
Oh, you're gonna love this.
Oh God.
I really wish I could have had this last month. I don't know if it was available last month, so it kind of slipped in there. This is a Christmas movie.
Okay.
Fat Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never actually got a chance to watch this one.
Yeah, it was on Peacock. That's how I was able to
Damn,
watch it.
Peacock. Fucking
Yeah.
A.
I know. Peacock has been having a field
Would you
day.
recommend Peacock Dragon just for a trial run?
I mean, based on the Doctor Death stuff, yes.
Okay.
I mean, based on that, I mean,
It's
I
like,
don't know if
at
you wanna-
least unlike Apple TV Plus,
Yeah.
at least I can actually access it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Peacock again. They have a lot. Well, some of my stuff I'm going to go with as well down here. I mean, you can make the judging yourself. Like one of the documentaries was also on Peacock. I mean, they got a selection. I don't know how they're.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not
Is
crazy.
it the Howie Mandel one?
Yeah. That's on Peacock.
Yeah,
as
I was
well,
curious about that because I hadn't heard of it. Okay, cool.
That's what I'm saying. So Peacock's got good stuff. It's just I'm not crazy about their layout, but I do it through the TV. So I don't.
I'm also not crazy about their branding either. I just think it's a terrible name for a streaming service, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Plus, well, it's on. If you get Peacock, you can also watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine because that's all there. Anyway, So Fat Man, yes. So yeah, I wish I saw this last month to go the Christmas in July thing, but
Sure.
again, as I said, Tiki, again, as our hopes were, but it came out in 2020 around Christmas. This is very seasonal shenanigans worthy for us, buddy. Really is. Yeah, it's
I have no doubt that it'll probably end up in our seasonal shenanigans roster for this year.
Yeah. This it's not as broad as I think people might have expected it to be.
That's what I was hearing about it. I was hearing it kind of played itself straight. Yeah.
It's pretty much what that trailer promised, which again, you can't really fault. Where it's a gritty and clever indie movie with a really out there premise, but I think it's really well handled. I'll admit the act one where we introduce the kid, basically our reason for the hitman. That's either going to grab you or it's not. But outside, I think the rest of it fits into place quite nicely. And I think the kid thing works. So, because basically, as you know, wicked rich kid named Billy, little Billy, hires a hitman. That is the great Walton Goggins, who is amazing in this movie. Hires Walton Goggins to take out Santa because he got coal for Christmas. Ain't happy about that. So one of my favorite types of Santa Claus to see when we do all of our many adaptations, I love the complex Santa, the world weary Santa, the Santa who's a little more action.
Sure.
We got to see that here. Where the world building on Santa was great in this film with Mel Gibson. Where he's a really wonderful dynamic with his wife, Mrs. Claus. Santa Claus dynamic's really good. The idea is this is a guy who's been kind of beaten down by the world's cynicism. He wants the world to be nice, and you see like that jolly guy is in there, but he's just he's been grizzled by life and the fact that the business is not going well. And the world building, I don't want to spoil it, but let's say the world building gets into like why business is not going well really cleverly. And Santa Claus, like in this world, he is a known entity, as in like everyone knows there is a Santa Claus. As in like okay, he does exist, but we don't know. He's really secretive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Again, Goggins is amazing. He's got a grudge against Santa Claus, and there's this runner where the idea is in his day job he runs a toy store, so he buys toys off of kids for a really great reason. And he's a really great runner. I won't tell you what it is, but when he does that, every time he does it, that's awesome. And again, as I said, I don't want to. It's not a whole lot to it. It's just a straightforward, kind of really well-rounded indie movie. I feel it's out there, but I really enjoyed it, man. It was Santa Claus with mundane problems. What more can you ask for?
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so next up we have Freaky. This has been on my radar for a while. I got around to watching. It was one of those things like. When it came out in theaters last year, I wanted to see it, but like no theaters around me were open. Dragon. Basically, it's Freaky Friday meets a serial killer.
Yeah, I debated watching this, but again, I don't know how much of a horror comedy is it in your opinion?
Oh, it's much more comedy than horror. Dragon. I honestly think you'd be fine with it.
Well, depending on your recommendation, I might look into this. So, what do you got?
I mean, I honestly think you might like it better than I did. I think for me, it's a premise where it's like it's a little too clever for its own good, and it kind of has a little bit of a wink and nod to the camera of like, hey, do you get it? But I don't know. It's still a lot of fun. Like I said, I really think you'd be fine with it. It's much more. It's much like there's a jump scare here and there, but it's pretty projected. It's much more on the comedy side of things. And also, just out of curiosity, do you know anything about Christopher Landon?
No.
Yeah, he is one of the Landis sons.
Oh, Landis? I thought you said Landon.
Oh, Landon. Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. It's not Landon. It's not Landis. I'm dumb.
Well, what is it? Landis or what is it?
Landon.
Landon. Okay.
He is the son of someone. He's the son of late actor Michael Landon. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. But he told me Landis. Like, okay, did he
I got confused. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got excited for a second. I was like, wait a minute, is this Max Landis' brother? My bad.
I have a brother.
Oh God. But Dragon, his claim to fame is the Paranormal Activity movies, and honestly, these are a little bit better, or this one's a little bit better than the Paranormal Activity movies. I feel like since the Paranormal Activity movies, he's gotten a hell of a lot better at writing dialogue and writing characters. So, I will say it's a little bit disposable. Like, it's a pretty predictable premise. Once you see it, you kind of know how things are going to go. But it's a good time, and shocker of all shocks, I give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
All right.
Getting really a numbery these days, aren't you? Okay, let me hit you with one here. This is a film called The Vault on Netflix.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. So, this is a Freddie Highmore movie.
Ooh.
So this is Freddie Highmore. It's like baby's first. It's Freddie Highmore's first heist movie.
Oh God. God.
No. So our boys in
Freddie
this.
Highmore's probably like watching. It's like, what? Do these people think I'm still a child?
No.
All right.
Anyway, so Freddie Highmore, he's doing a heist movie. Again, he's kind of doing the Odenkirk thing. He's getting into other genres, which I applaud. And this is, honestly, here's the interesting thing. This is not just a heist movie. Apparently, this is technically, it's, given the setting and everything, it's a Spanish film, actually. It's a Spanish heist movie.
Uh-huh.
So, premise very simple. Here's the thing: this movie does not reinvent the wheel, but it's like it's kind of like a disposable kind of fun time. It's like it's not going to reinvent the wheel, but our boys in it. It's like, oh, look at him go! This is nice. It's Liam Cunningham, a good actor. He was in the Masters of the Universe thing. He played played the most dangerous man, that guy. So. Anyway, so Liam Cunningham, he's running like a voyage, at sea, where basically they're diving and they're looking for essentially Spanish doubloons, like the treasure of Guadalupe, I believe it's called. So they find it, but unfortunately, where they find it, but they're in like the Spanish government lays claim to it because it's like in their waters and it wasn't approved when they found this. So they take possession of, they put in like this bank vault in 2010. And what happens is, so he gets in Freddie Highmore. For the idea is that Freddie Highmore plays Tom, who's like a brilliant young engineer who's very environmentally conscious. He's a problem solver. He's the guy saying, like, people keep courting him, like, we want you to do engineering for us and big oil and all these industries. Like, well, yeah, but can we be a little bit more responsible with what we're doing here? Like, can we solve the oil crisis? Like, no, we just want you to do this. Like, he's not dazzled by that. Anyway, so they recruit him for the heist, using his brilliant kind of his thinking to kind of get him out of Dodge and help kind of come up with a way to heist the Spanish doubloons and everything. And they time it to the 2010 World Cup that I guess, was in Spain, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was it's again not reinventing wheel, but it was our boy. I think our boy delivered. It's like, again, to seeing him kind of bridge into the heist genre, and I'm usually dazzled by him on The Good Doctor. Seeing him in this genre, it was fun. It was a nice movie, not super memorable, but it was nice.
All right, so this one's also been on my radar for a while. I got around to seeing Let Him Go. Dragon, if you've ever wanted to see Ma and Pa Kent in a revenge thriller, this is the movie for you. Diane Keaton and Diane Lane, not Keaton. I always get the two confused. I'm sorry. Diane Lane and Kevin Costner, they play grandparents of an infant boy, and their adult son suddenly dies at the start of the movie, and the grandson is taken into custody by the son's widow,
who comes from a total piece of shit family, who then proceeds to just lock Kevin Costner and Diane Lane out of the grandson's life entirely, leading to said title, Let Him Go.
Getting some Dear Zachary vibes.
Definitely. This Dragon, I think you'd really like this movie. For me, it was maybe a little bit too much of a slow burn. Like I'd probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10,
Yep.
maybe an 8.
God.
But
More with
but
the numbers.
I don't know. I still really liked it. I think ultimately it's one of those movies where it's like it is very slow paced. It is very deliberate, but you kind of have like this building sense of dread as it goes through, and like as the movie goes on and on, you're kind of just like, you know, your level of anxiety just kind of tightens more and more. So it didn't knock my socks off, Dragon, but I did really enjoy it. I did think it was very well done. It kind of reminded me of like something like Hell or High Water Light. You know, it kind of had like that Taylor Sheridan vibe. Actually, it's funny because it feels more like a Taylor Sheridan movie than the actual Taylor Sheridan movie.
I'm sorry, you don't mean Ty Sheridan, you mean Taylor Sheridan, right?
Yeah, Taylor Sheridan.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have no idea who Taylor Sheridan. That's why.
He's the guy who directed Hell or High Water and also that Angelina Jolie smoke jumper movie from a couple months ago.
Gotcha.
Like Hell or High Water was like honestly in my top 20 movies of the decade.
No, I remember High Water.
And then that smoke jumper movie was just a big fall off. So
yeah,
this movie is very much in the middle of those two, but it feels much more like Hell or High Water than that. It feels very much like a Taylor Sheridan movie. So
yeah,
so I'd give it a watch, Dragon. I would.
Cool. All right. Okay, let's see. Let me hit you with documentary Howie Mandel. But enough about me.
All right, now Howie Mandel just in general is like such an enigmatic guy, so I'm very intrigued by this.
So it's interesting. I read his before this, just serendipitously.
Oh wait, hold on, Drake. Does this have anything to do with the social media stuff that's been going on with him?
Well, when did the social media stuff happen?
Like, I don't know, like maybe a year ago, people were like very concerned about his mental state because he was tweeting off some like really weird, concerning tweets.
Well, I don't believe they covered that here. He's in the pandemic in this, so I mean, they cover. I don't know if they cover like the social media.
People were basically just really worried that he had lost his mind during the pandemic because of how OCD he is.
Yeah, but here's the thing, folks. He was prepared.
all right.
Okay, no, but here, so serendipitously, I had actually read Howie Mandel's book before this, and not right before this, but like a little while before this, which essentially is kind of like an unofficial adaptation of the book into a documentary, which is pretty good. It kind of covers a lot of the same stuff. It's a deep dive on Howie Mandel. You know, it's a really if you want to learn about Howie Mandel, Tiki, you definitely want to check this documentary out. Either that or read the book, but. Yeah, we go from him as like the hungry comedian to some fun stories there to anyway. So him in the entertainment field, of course, the game shows and everything. Here's the thing that really impressed me about the documentary from what I learned about him in the book and seeing how they adapted it. So yeah, he mentioned the story of how he bombed on Carson one night. Now, I'm not saying he performed and bombed on Carson. I mean, they asked him to be a guest on Carson because Johnny Carson loved him when he had him on. And there's this the last time he was on Carson, he went for an elaborate prop-based joke. And I've always heard the stories of this, but they actually found the footage and they put it in the documentary. And it was great. And it's like he bombed so hard Johnny Carson never had him on again because he tanked it that badly.
Wow.
And also then we cover the Howard Stern thing. You know about the Howard Stern thing, don't you?
No, but it seems like Howard Stern is the center of a lot of drama. So
yeah, Howard Stern outed him as OCD.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, he didn't
that's hardcore.
I mean, he's responsible. He didn't directly out, but he basically was really insensitive to him during a really basically he was having a panic attack in the studio, and Howard Mandel was panicking, and he basically revealed on air while it was being broadcast that he is OCD. So because Howard Stern was just a jerk and he wouldn't open the door for him. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of fascinating stuff that we cover here. I mean, if you like this way, you watch the documentary. If you want to know more, check out the book or like look into some of his interviews that he's done. It's really really good stuff, and just an inspiring story of a guy, kind of trying, conquering adversity over the years. And also, it gets to the root of where the OCD stuff started for him, which is really interesting. I won't tell you that
I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you ever watch it, by all means. If not, I'll tell you the root of the OCD.
No, I want to watch it, so don't tell me. Yeah.
Okay, good. But yeah, it was a very solid documentary. So yeah,
cool. All right, next up we have Gerald's Game. This is a head trip of a movie, dude.
Well, clear it's a sequel to Jerry's Game, so.
God. No, God, Jesus. If that's the case, oh boy.
No. Okay, well, tell me about Gerald's Game.
Okay, so Dragon, this is it's definitely not your type of movie. It's a Stephen King adaptation. The main character basically it's such an uncomfortable movie to even describe.
Oh god.
So a couple goes to an isolated cabin in the middle of the woods to spice up their sex life.
Okay.
And the guy wants to get a little kinky, and so he breaks out a pair of handcuffs.
No, I was hoping it was going to be like a sex board game, but no, it's handcuffs.
Oh, God. This is a Stephen King movie, Dragon. Come on.
I don't say when you said Gerald's Game, you mentioned the sex game.
I love it. All right.
Like more of those intimacy games,
Right, now I'm just picturing like like JGI doing a parody of Gerald's Game where it's just them playing Sorry or something.
Like some sort of demented Jumanji or something. I don't know.
All right. So she gets handcuffed to the bed. Literally in the middle of in-course, the guy has a heart attack and dies right on top of her.
Oh.
And the rest of the movie is her struggling to get out of the handcuffs, and it gets wild.
Who would make a movie of that?
I mean, it's Dragon. It's good. It's good.
All right.
I mean, it's a really solid psychological thriller. What I like about it is it reminds me of other movies that use kind of like the trapped single setting space to its advantage. This very much reminds me of something like 127 Hours as a horror movie, where Dragon, her mind very quickly starts to play tricks on her. Like her husband starts talking to her, and just all these crazy like elemental things in the room start to happen. Hallucinations kick in very quickly, which is basically just like an amalgamation of like the extreme stress that she's experiencing in the situation. I certainly don't think it's your type of movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. So, some people have like raved about it, saying like it's one of the best horror movies they've ever seen. I wouldn't go that far just because I thought some of like the symbolism and some of the like the psychological stuff was a little on the nose. But it is a very good movie as far as like the trapped in an isolated setting kind of situation goes. Not a masterpiece like 127 Hours is, but very good at maintaining the suspense.
Okay.
All
right. So next one, this is a movie I was looking forward to watching at some point. It was finally by sheer like coincidence. I mean, every time I would go in for a while, every time I'd go into like a Walmart or something, it was always on like that new releases. I was like, nah, it's not that. It's not enough to really just get it out of the blue. I gotta wait for it to come.
Formiga one?
Formiga, what do you mean? No.
Well, I thought this was the one that Formiga was in, that she played a villain.
No, I think you're thinking of The Commuter.
That is what I'm thinking of. Okay, I'm sorry.
We already covered that one.
Okay.
No, this is The Courier.
Okay,
so this is like one of those things. I kept seeing this Benedict Cumberbatch movie in like the DVD aisle every time I kept passing it. So it ended up on Amazon. It's like hey, it's on Prime finally. Okay, I can watch this now. Yeah, this is a head trip in a good way. And this was this is a true story. Basically, simple premise. average Joe salesman in 1960s during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He is essentially turned into a courier. Like he turned into a spy.
I think I saw this on Prime. Yeah, I think it caught my interest in Prime. I just didn't get around to watching it.
Yeah. Just like, well, given anything major away, he befriends like his Russian kind of spy courier counterpart, basically the guy he gets the information handed off from. It's basically, let me put it this way: I want to say Act 1 to maybe half of Act 2, or of all of Act 2 is like it's a very pleasant biopic of like, oh, okay, look at them learn about each other culturally and stuff. There's kind of like the meeting of the minds in between, the civility between cultures, and that's kind of nice. Cumberbatch, he's nice, but then, oh my God, Act 3 happens. Oh my God, Act 3 happens, and it's the gobsmacking act, Tiki, where he plays Greville Wynn, and this is why you get Cumberbatch for the role. That's when you realize, oh, this is why we got Cumberbatch. Where it just takes, without saying exactly what happens, it takes the most dire and tragic of circumstance.
Oh, wow.
Of like the Red Scare in the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's what Act 3 is. And it's like to non-students of deep cut history, it's like a deep cut history thing. Because it's like these are like sort of like a Bridge of Spies spy games, where it's like, little piece. It's
right.
Again, there's like a Bridge of
much like Bridge of Spies from how you're describing it.
Yeah, like Act 1 and 2. Like, this is very much in the vein of Bridge of Spies, unequivocally. Yeah. So this is kind of like maybe like in the same universe, let's call it. Sure. But it's just utterly gobsmacking Act 3. It's like the movie's already pleasant, but then it just takes a turn, like really gets a little tense, and then it gets all that like, oh my God, this is just.
Which honestly, if there's one thing Bridge of Spies was kind of missing, it was tension.
Yeah, trust me, the tension's gonna mount, and then it's gonna get to kind of like a mini horror movie with Act 3. Well, somewhat of it's not like a legit horror movie, but it's just like it's a horrible situation.
Interesting.
All right, but yeah, I really enjoyed the Courier.
Cool. All right, so I saw Holy Motors, which is by the same director as Annette. And wouldn't you know it, Dragon, it's even less accessible than Annette is. Dragon, I don't know if you've ever seen the clip of it's kind of like a famous, like out of context, like artistic movie indie clip of like there's like an alleyway and there's a bunch of guys playing accordions. Does that ring a bell at all?
Not. I think I remember that, Tiki. No.
Okay. Well, that's like kind of the centerpiece of the movie. It's literally like the intermission of the movie, and it's like the most well-known sequence. But how do I describe this movie?
It's an alley full of men playing accordions. That kind of sums it up.
It's bizarre, man. This movie, basically, the main character is Dragon. You know how I was describing Annette as like a movie where it's like, they go out, they acknowledge that they're performing, and then the end, you kind of see them walking away, and it's kind of like the whole thing was a performance, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is like a whole movie where it's like very on the nose, like this is a performance. So essentially the main character, he's like, he keeps getting into a taxi cab, and he keeps changing outfits and playing different roles. So it's kind of like a vignette of short stories that's all taking place by the same actor, and you don't know if it's like a collection of short stories. It's like it's all in the same location, but it's different stories. The characters like playing different roles. You don't know if he's like an undercover guy or what. It's crazy. I liked it for the style, but I didn't like. I feel like Annette, like at the very least, Annette had a hook with it with the Hellenberg character, and I feel like this was kind of like more weird for the sake of being weird, but it also didn't really have a hook to it. So, man, I want to give it more than a 7 out of 10, but I really can't. It's really weird. I mean, some of it's very beautiful as far as cinematography goes, but I don't know, man. The plot just like it's like, even for me, it's damn weird. And you know me, Dragon, I can take some weird shit. So,
okay. Oh, speaking of stuff you'd like, yeah, this next one, I think you'd love it.
Okay.
It's really tense, but I think you'd love it. Okay, this next one is Mom, Mothers of Monsters. I get it's an acronym. Okay. Yeah, so this is I watched this for Ed Asner. Ed Asner has like a very brief cameo role in the film, like
For
one
what?
scene. Cameo role. He's like one. He's like a one
Who
scene.
does? I'm sorry.
Ed Asner.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I watched this for Ed Asner because I kind of I needed to fill in some memoir space, and it was like I eyeballed it, and I realized like given that Ed Asner passed, that's what reason it was always on my radar. So like what, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna watch it. This movie impressed and terrified me. I'll tell you why. So this is not at all what I was expecting. This is a found footage movie, a la Searching, only from a mother's perspective. So let me.
Wow.
So that's the thing. I think you're really gonna. I think you really love. It's on Amazon. I think you really love this. So here's the premise. Okay, so you have this again. What if Searching were from a tortured mother's perspective on her troubled son? Like the son is not missing, but the son is trouble. And here's the premise. So I'm sorry, I keep saying that, but the mother, who is a little unstable herself for understandable reasons, and again, there's a little bit of ambiguity at the top. Like is she off her rocker herself? And we find out that she has credence to be. She is taking a very odd tact because she's gone through the traditional avenues of trying to diffuse the situation of her son, where basically she is becoming convinced that her son is very erratic in his behavior and that he's probably inevitably going to shoot up his school. So what she is doing is she's been using like a camcorder. Like we see some brief, our version of a flashback is like little camcorder footage of him as a boy. Mm-hmm. So she's used video cameras, and now she's using it for the express purpose of documenting her son. So basically, hopefully it's like a cry for help with like a therapist. Basically proof every time she's tried to get him analyzed, they've seen nothing wrong. So she's trying to show like there is something wrong here. And also it's like, hey, when the inevitable school shooting starts, I did my best. I'm
loving the setup.
So that's our premise here. And the really cool thing is that the reason there's actually a really good legit reason for why he has not been able to be diagnosed properly. Is that he's a 16-year-old kid, and it's like a little loophole in the law where the mind of a teenager is still developing until age 18. Ergo, it can't be nailed down there. So anyway, this kid, he is terrifying. The son, again, he starts off again just as it goes on, it gets more and more kind of scary, and the ambiguity kind of fades away. And then this kid's name's Jacob, by the way, and I bring that up because it's so funny. I bring it up because defending Jacob, I think there's like a pattern of the ambiguity of these unstable characters, like Jacob from defending Jacob. I think it's coming, and also we had the Jacob in Knives Out, who's the same kid from defending Jacob. It's like a number of Jacobs. So it's just kind of becoming an unsettling trend I'm noticing now. Anyway, but yeah, it just becomes.
We of course know not one but two Jacobs who are associated with the channel.
Yeah. Thankfully, they're not psychopaths, so we're good.
Thankfully, yes.
As far as we know, but so far so good. No, they're cool. Anyway, yeah, so it's just things unravel, you see kind of like there's an unstable, monstrous quality that's coming out. Act 3, I will not tell you what happens in Act 3, but Act 3 is so dark, twisted psychologically. There's a palpable tension.
Okay.
For things, this poor woman, there's like a PSA vibe to things. It's just utterly, for you, this is a godsend for you, buddy boy. This is like found footage. It's
sounds like it's so up my alley.
It's the horror movie version of Searching, Tiki.
Yeah,
I think you'd love this. Yeah, I was again just very impressed. Like I could get through it, but my God, it's like this. Sure. It was a harrowing experience.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one is also pretty harrowing. Dragon Collateral. Have you ever seen this?
No, I have not.
Tom Cruise, Jamie Foxx.
Sounds good. I haven't watched it.
I would recommend it. This is up your alley, man. This is definitely a highlight of the month. I would probably give it a 9 out of 10.
Again with the numbers. What are you, Casey Kasem's top 40 with the numbers?
No, I'm actually trying to imitate Your Movie Sucks when I do the numbers. Anyways, so yeah, this is a very straightforward movie. Dragon. Tom Cruise is an ice cold hitman who gets into a cab with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah,
and Jamie Foxx becomes the unwilling driver to Tom Cruise on his night of going and doing different hits.
Oh my God, I love this premise.
Yeah, that's it. I honestly don't want to tell you anything more about it, Dragon.
Where did you watch it?
Netflix.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, I honestly don't want to tell you anything more about it. It's a ride, man. It's a ride.
Okay, but just so confirm it for us. Make sure I heard it right. Okay, so
Yeah.
Tom Cruise hitman. He basically has he forced this guy, or is this guy just
yes,
like doing like
yes. He right away. It's like, he's very open. Like, hey, this is the situation. This is what I want you to do. He also is very much like, he's not exactly threatening with it, because he's pretty much like he's kind of like putting on this demeanor of like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to hurt you. In fact, there's going to be some good money in it for you.
Nice.
But obviously Jamie Foxx is not okay with it, but he's, he's in that sort of situation where he knows he can't really freak out, so. So yeah, it's great, Dragon. It's a Michael Mann movie as well.
Ooh.
So the tension is going to be well directed.
How long is it?
That's a good question, because I honestly kind of just went along with it. I assume it's around 2 hours. I can look it up.
I was asked because Michael Mann, usually does like sometimes he's known for doing really long movies.
Let me see.
Not that it's a deal breaker. I'm just curious.
It's exactly 2 hours long. That's what I thought.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
right.
yeah, very much. I very much recommend it.
Okay.
It's not the best thing I saw this month, but it's close.
All right. Okay. Well, again, that premise just sounds insanely like okay.
It's a great premise. Yeah, it's a great book.
It's nice when Hollywood gets it right with the premise.
I'm honestly kind of surprised you've never heard of it, just because it seems like a premise that would be up your alley.
I mean, yeah, no. Sometimes these action, sometimes they have those titles that get generic after a while, where it's always.
Oh, the title is very generic. Yeah. I remember the big notable thing about this one is that this was the same year that Ray came out, and so it was like the big Jamie Foxx gets nominated for both Ray and this.
Oh, he got nominated for this too?
Yeah, he got nominated for this too, for supporting actor. Yeah.
That's
nice. It is easily Tom Cruise's best villain role. I'll say that much.
Well, not as much as his role as the guy jumping on the couch that one time, but yeah. That guy was a super villain. We all know.
Okay, fair.
No.
Your social commentary from almost 2 decades ago.
Still unsettling every time you look back on. Anyway, but fair enough. Okay, let me get you with some of this. I don't know what your level of interest would be on this, but I mean, I rather enjoyed this. Kill the Irishman.
Okay.
So Kill the Irishman. It's bound to show up again. It was like leaving Netflix.
Is it about someone who just really doesn't like the Martin Scorsese movie?
No, but it's kind of in the same. It's sort of. It's not. Sorry, let me try. How can I best put this? It's it's kind of the same setting of The Irishman. Where The Irishman is in many respects called that because it's set during the Union thing with the Irish, hence the Irish. Yeah. So I'm just saying the whole they really sprung from the Union during that kind of that Jimmy Hoffa time. So it's probably set around the same time as that. So that's hence the Irishman. Anyway, so this is directed by Jonathan Hensley, if I'm saying that right. The guy who did the 04 Punisher and the Ice Road recently with Liam Neeson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This guy's a pretty solid director. I think it's ironic given who stars in this movie. He did the 04 Punisher.
I just love that. I know I've made this observation before, but I love that after Daddy's Home 2, Liam Neeson has been in several Ice Road or Ice Truck movies.
Yeah. Seriously,
it's
the Ice Road.
Okay, Liam Neeson, you are just leaning into the joke at this point.
I still marvel at how compelling the Ice Road was, though, considering how silly it really should have been. But he made that work, man. Anyway, but yeah, I gotta tell you, this director is really solid work. And the irony with the Punisher thing is the star of this movie is Ray Stevenson, who played before. We got Bernthal, the best Punisher, with the Warzone Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Ray Stevenson also he's in the MCU. He was Volstagg. Anyway. And also a good villain from the latter seasons of Dexter. I'm getting sidetracked here. This is a biopic on Danny Green, basically in the whole Cleveland mob story. Basically, Cleveland had a really bad mob problem, and this documents that kind of that rise and fall. Where it's Tiki. This has an utterly star-studded cast. There are no odd pearls here. This is all the movie on the whole. It's no Goodfellas, but it's like. Again, it's a little like The Irishman. Just if anyone liked The Irishman or the setting of The Irishman, look no further with this puppy. This is a fun mob movie, kind of focuses a little more on the Irish side of things. You have Vincent D'Onofrio, Christopher Walken, Val Kilmer, which is the other reason I watched this. Val Kilmer.
Wait, Val Kilmer?
Yeah, Kilmer. It was in the Val documentary. They had like all those clips of the movies he's been in. So there was.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Okay.
I was on a long Halloween mob kick, and then Kilmer entered. So that's why I looked in the movie. And I was leaving. Sure. So Kilmer, he's the cop in this. He's like the idea. So Danny Green, the Ray Stevenson character, he's he's the person of interest. And Kilmer, he grew up with him in the same neighborhood of Collinwood, and he is tasked with stopping him. So they're kind of at odds in the movie. So again, you have Vinnie Jones, our guys in it. Vinnie Jones. That's what I'm saying. Cast. Linda Cardellini. It's a well-built cast, man. So that's what I'm saying. So Ray Stevens is an underrated actor because he really gets the shine in this as the lead. He basically is like he's like the Irish. He's somewhat of the Irish mob's Robin Hood. He's like Collinwood's. He's like his own hometown's Robin Hood, being the idea where he kind of inspired the Union guys, like who were being kind of run by a corrupt Bob Gunton. Wonderful Bob Gunton. He was like the corrupt Union guy. He gave back to the community. Let's see. Basically, Danny Green becomes a real figure. Again, this Robin Hood figure that starts to rub the Italian mob the wrong way, and it leads into this escalation that is the Irish and the Italians going to war with each other. It was really a bloody. There were a lot of bombings and everything during this period. It was crazy. It was nuts. And Danny Green basically has this absurdly major target on his back because he's getting really cocky at this time. So hence the title, "Kill the Irishman." The people are literally gunning for him during the whole movie, and it was a really satisfying watch. I don't want to bore you with the details, but I had a good time with it. If it ever pops its head up on streaming, I'd recommend checking it out for the fun factor. But
okay. Yeah. And finally, Dragon, without further ado, the last film of the night, The Game.
Tiki, you had one before that.
Oh, I do? I'm sorry. Yeah. What is it?
City of God.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm sorry. I got excited that we were almost over. My bad. Okay, so City of God. I honestly don't have much to say about this one. I think it's like very much an art piece. It's about Rio de Janeiro and the slums of Rio de Janeiro. That's why it's called City of God, because of course Rio de Janeiro has the famous Jesus statue,
right?
And it's very much like steeped in religion, and so kind of like the irony of the City of God title is it's got some of the worst slums in the world, and so. And so these people are kind of like living in the slums, even though they're living in the quote unquote City of God. So it's very much an ironic title. Dragon, have you ever seen like something like Traffic or even Crash?
I think I saw a little bit of Crash.
So you know how something like that, where it's like I'm not endorsing Crash as a film, but you know how a movie like that, like basically it's kind of like vignettes where it's like it follows like a whole ensemble of characters, and there's no one main character. Yeah, it's a story like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. This movie didn't hit me in the way that I thought it would. It's very much a movie that I was kind of like, building up for a long time. It's the cinematography is excellent. I mean, the cinematography is probably the reason to see the movie. I definitely think what led me to see the movie was it was very much a film that was a go-to for film school teachers, in my time doing that in school. So, just to show off like different cinematography techniques and whatnot. So as far as that goes, it's great. I think the only problem is that narratively, it is compelling stories just in the sense of like how harrowing the life is. It's kind of like maybe a little bit grittier of a Slumdog Millionaire as far as, kind of showing life and poverty and everything. I just feel like at the end of the day, it really just, there's not a ton that comes together about it beyond just like the artistic qualities of it and the kind of the symbolism of, I do think the City of God thing, it is good symbolism, but I don't know. There's just not a lot of connective tissue tying the stories together. And so I will give it like an 8 out of 10.
All right. Okay, so my last film, you'll notice how I arranged these, Tiki. The title of my film followed by the title of your film.
Right.
Okay, so The End is it's my film. So yeah, this is a passion project.
Beautiful friend, the end.
Right. So yeah, this is this was leaving HBO Max, and I heard about this thing, and I've been meaning to watch it at some point. So there was kind of the kind of the stars aligning I needed. Yeah, this is a passion project of Burt Reynolds. He'd actually directed and starred
Oh, okay.
this. I had no idea he directed it, and the reason why is that no other studio would make this film. So it's like he did another movie that basically performed so well. Warner Brothers had no choice to let him do this film because the premise was so edgy and kind. It's a black comedy. It's a really dark premise, but it's thoroughly a comedy though. Like, it's not a comedy drama or anything. It's a really dark brand of comedy. And also was the blueprint and large inspiration for All Dogs Go to Heaven. The model of All Dogs Go to Heaven was this film, and particularly the big thing it did. I mean, first and foremost, is it pairs Burt Reynolds with Dom DeLuise. That's the big thing it does. So you have that dynamic, and then a lot of just the whole you have a dying character essentially. So okay, so Burt Reynolds plays a guy named Sonny who's been diagnosed with a toxic blood disorder, like a toxic blood disease. So he's dying. Maybe not tomorrow, but he is dying, and he's not reacting well to that news. And the way the movie opens is pretty identical to the way All Dogs Go to Heaven opens. By the way, so that's very much a model for that movie. So based on the black comedy premise, and this is why the studios turned it down. He's trying to kill himself. Because his days are numbered.
That'll do it.
But again, it's like I don't want to dissuade anyone. It is really funny though. It's just a dark, humor.
By all means, Dragon. I mean, look at Groundhog Day. That premise can be done with really funny results. Yeah, I mean, it's a risky comedy move, but it can work.
And what I like though is that amidst the comedy, there are moments of kind of genuine heart though, and I think that's what Reynolds really saw in the piece, and it really brought to the forefront. It's really well shot. Seriously, it's really impressive. This is shot the same year as Superman in '78. So, I mean, again, there was like kind of that nice '70s look to it. It's really well composed shots. Again, DeLuise. So DeLuise is like his crazy sidekick. So again, he tries to kill himself unsuccessfully, ends up in a mental institution. Like an institution of some kind, and he basically is accosted by DeLuise, who is a Marlin, who basically initially thinks he's like a lawyer or something, but then he realizes he's just the crazy guy who strangled somebody once, and he basically becomes friends with him because he wants to help him die. It's like, I'll help you. I'll kill you. I'll help you die. I'll help you. He's like the random sidekick. He's watching all.
Isn't that the basis for all great cinematic friendships?
I mean, pretty much. Yeah, it's a gutsy premise, but it's really funny. It was all fun. Also, last thing, Paul Williams wrote a song for the movie. I'm wondering if
did he really? Nice.
Yeah, it's really, it opens the movie too. It's nice. It's called Another Fine Mess. You ever hear that one?
Can't say I have.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, I think you'd like this one.
Okay, so finally, the game, Dragon. The game. You know anything about this?
Michael Douglas is in it.
Yes.
That's all I got.
So can you guess what inspired me to watch this?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. What if Tiki watched this?
All right. So yeah, it wasn't even that I was like really actively seeking it out. I just saw it was on Netflix, and I was like, oh, okay, like Michael Douglas. He just impressed me. Let's give it a roll, man.
Yeah.
Dragon, believe it or not, this was the last Fincher film that I had not seen.
Really?
I mean, except for Alien 3, but I mean, Fincher himself has disowned Alien 3.
Wait, so Fincher really did Alien 3? That was him?
Yeah, sure? That was him, technically. I keep
thinking, every time I think of that, I remember Joss Whedon, I guess he wrote the third Alien. I guess he did.
He did, yeah, he did.
Okay.
Fincher directed.
Gotcha. Okay.
Dragon, this is a frustrating movie because it's really, really solid. It honestly kind of like feels like a proto M. Night Shyamalan movie in the sense where it's a very intriguing premise where essentially Michael Douglas is just bored with life and his buddy is like, hey man, I got involved with this group that like really spiced up my life. It's basically like a gaming club, right? And so Michael Douglas is kind of thinking like it's like gambling or something. He's like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Why not? And Dragon, basically the game, quote unquote, is that people are out for Michael Douglas, and that is what is spicing up his life. And it's a silly premise, but by the same token, Fincher definitely like legitimizes it. You know what it really feels like, Dragon? It really kind of has like a North by Northwest vibe to it. Just in the sense of like, you know, it's got some thrills, it's got some really good chases, it's got a conspiracy angle. You know, Michael Douglas is kind of like the likable, slightly goofy main character. So, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like a masterpiece like North by Northwest, but it's got that kind of vibe. I would say it's probably on the lower tier of Fincher. Honestly, I hate to say it, but Mank might be Fincher's weakest film just because it just doesn't connect like all his other films do as far as, as far as just the character work goes. This is probably a little bit of a notch beyond Mank. I will say the ending, I don't want to exactly give away what the ending is, but it did kind of kill some things. That's kind of why I have that Shyamalan comparison, because it honestly feels like the type of movie where it's like you're going along, you're having a good time with the premise, and then you get to the ending and you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but what was the point? Like, you know? So, overall, it's a very, very solid movie. Douglas himself is great. I mean, Dragon, honestly, I would recommend it just for Douglas alone. Like,
so rarely does Douglas not deliver.
Like yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like, but legitimately, like, if you are like, if you got like a taste for Hank Pym and you're kind of waiting for a good taste of Michael Douglas before Quantum Mania comes out, this would be a good place to turn to. And it's definitely not too intense that you wouldn't be able to watch it or anything. It's definitely more of a thriller than it is a horror movie.
Sure.
So, so I would give it a watch for sure. Like I said, it's lower tier Fincher. I would probably put it like, it's probably in about the same category as something like Panic Room, where, it's a really good premise, doesn't quite stick to landing, but a lot of good elements about it. Keeps up the tension really nicely. The ending is unfortunately kind of what sinks it a little bit. But overall, I would give it a recommendation. So,
all right, okay, let's ditch our accoutrement here, and let's talk best and worst.
All right, I'm gonna let you go first because I'm still kind of trying to figure it out myself.
Okay, all right, best. I mean, honestly, the best. It's kind of a tie between. There's a lot of good best.
Are you having the same dilemma that I am with the best? I think you might be.
I mean,
Suicide Squad or Bob Ross.
I mean, it's also. I mean,
I have honestly been like weighing it all podcast, Dragon. I can't make up my mind.
I mean, honestly, I'm actually torn even more. I really like.
Oh God,
I really anticipated that, and it really delivered for me. So it's kind of Squad, Free Guy, and Bob Ross. I mean,
Free.
Tell you what,
Guy's not quite up there for me, but
okay, tell you what,
that's fair.
You take Bob Ross, and I'll pick between Squad and Free Guy. Oh God.
Well, if you don't take Squad, then Squad won't be represented at all.
What do I do then? God. Well, okay. Look, let's start with the worst.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, worst. I mean, de facto, it's kind of between. I mean, the Vault is just unremarkable. It's not bad. The Reminiscence kind of went south. I'm gonna have to say Reminiscence. Okay, so that's the worst. What's your worst?
Man, I don't necessarily have a worst per se because I liked everything I saw. I mean, Holy Motors was definitely the least accessible, but it had a lot of memorable stuff in it.
And you're gonna take the wooden baby, aren't you?
No, I'm not gonna pick Annette just because, like I said, Simon Hillenburg definitely kind of like anchored that movie as far as my you know what? I'm going to go with Freaky, and I feel bad doing that because it is a solid movie. It just, out of all the things I watched this month, it kind of feels like the one that's the most disposable and the one that'd probably be like the easiest for me to forget about. Because, I mean, like City of God is not really my type of movie. I can't see myself rewatching it, but I certainly see the merit in it from an artistic point of view and from like a social commentary point of view. I'm it's tough because I really do think my lineup this month was really good. So I don't know. It's kind of like I'm gonna say Freaky. Like honestly, Yeah, it's between Freaky and Vivo. I think Vivo, again, Vivo is also a good movie. I just don't think it's as elevated as most of the other stuff I watch. But Vivo's got like the killer soundtrack, so I'm gonna have to say Freaky for worst.
Yeah. I think what we're gonna do with Best Stiggy is like I'm gonna have to tie. I think if I've
Just
gone
do
to
it a tie. It's fine. No one's gonna sue us if you do it a tie.
I'm gonna say it's a tie between Suicide Squad and Frigga, and you can have Bob Ross.
All right, because honestly, Dragon, Bob Ross for me, that really was like I didn't even know it was coming out. Like I knew nothing about it until you said something, and it blew me away. Like I legitimately think it's the best documentary since Won't You Be My Neighbor, which means definitively that it will not be nominated for an Academy Award.
Tiki, if we had $10,000 right now, if we could bet on the Oscars, okay, snubs, we're taking stub bets right now. 10,000 on Bob Ross not being nominated.
Dragon, I wish you and I weren't so cynical about it, but it's just kind of what we've come down to with the award for best documentary.
It's like you said, if they're not at least nominating Won't You Be My Neighbor, what chance does Bob Ross have?
Yeah.
I mean, this was amazing. I agree. So far, best documentary of 2021, but that's what water is that going to hold now? we don't nominate the good documentaries. We nominate the socially relevant documentaries.
All right. So
anyway,
I mean, to be fair, I don't even think that something like Free Solo was even really socially relevant. I think that was just like cinematography porn.
Yeah, fair. That's good. Did that win? That won.
Yes, that's the one that won the year that Won't You Be My Neighbor should have been nominated.
Oh, God. Anyway.
All right.
So that's what that is. Anyway, so.
All right, so that's it, Dragon.
That's it.
All right, well, folks, we've waxed on long enough, and it's time to put the pen, or in this case, the paintbrush, down.
Whack the devil out of it.
Until next month, when we talk about even more. That happy little bush will just be our secret.
It's a happy